some coffee. A lot of it. I said, what? Myself. And I get her listen to wine first time with and some of that things that intrigue you. First of all, never have a gun in your pocket. Don't have any kind of technology where you can reach it. Already need any kind of I give him a gun and he's pushing buttons. So then he does further. It's real stuff. That's what these kids' minds do. Yes, they are. All these everything is very good.
I'd like to call the meeting of the Tabernacle Township Committee to order. Please show me the salute flag. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Meeting is called pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Law. This meeting of April the 11th, 2016 was included in the list of notices sent to the Central Record, Burlington County Times, and Courier Post. Posted on the bulletin board at Town Hall and has remained continuously posted as required notices under the statute. In addition, a copy of this notice is and has been available to the public and is on file in the office of the municipal clerk. We have roll call. Mr. Barton.
Present.
Ms. Brown. Available by voice.
I'm sorry. Oh,
We can move on to the other three. Oh, she answered right on.
Hello.
Are you here?
Kim, it's Peter. I'm calling you for the meeting. You're on the meeting, okay?
Thank you. Ms. Brown?
Here.
Thank you. Mr. Franzen?
Here.
Mr. Yates?
Here.
Mayor Lee?
Here.
Thank you.
At this time, I'd like to take a moment and pause and think about one of our residents that passed on almost 2 weeks ago now. third week in March, a gentleman who served the community very well in many capacities, Raymond Worrell II, who served as our township engineer for many years. He also served on the school board at a critical time in our community's history where we had a large amount of folks and nowhere to put them, and Ray was very instrumental in getting that building constructed over on New Road. He built the house on Stevens Lane. If you know where his house sits on Stevens Lane, it was one of the first houses that we built in that part of town. Ray served also on the Land Development Board, which is where I worked with him directly. He had a very unique knowledge of the township. He could have an application in front of us and could talk directly about who lived in that house beforehand, who built it, which house was foreclosed on, how it was designed, who built it. He had a real true knowledge of the town, specifically in the areas that were developed in the mid-70s and the early 80s. So certainly it was, he not only did a lot of work in Tabernacle, but also served many municipalities throughout Burlington County as an engineer with Lord Anderson. So I wanted to just make a reference to the passing of Ray Worrell a few weeks ago. His funeral was last Friday. And I also want to open up to members of the committee, as well as Doug, for any comments regarding Ray. And after that, we'll ask for moment of silence.
Well, like you, I worked with Ray for many years, both on the board, when I served on the planning board, and also as supervisor of public works, and then later on as director of public works. Worked with him for a number of years on a number of road projects, and I think the mayor has stated it very well. Ray's knowledge of town was second to none, and it was a great asset for many years to this community, and he will be sorely missed.
I would just reinforce, Steve, what you said. He did a lot with the new school that we had when he was the school board president, and had the honor of serving with him back in the day. And you know, I think as time goes on, we tend to not remember, because maybe we're new in town or we're getting old and we're forgetting what people do for our town. And I think Ray is one of those guys who helped make this town what it is today. And now I'm proud to have worked with him. And not only did I know him professionally and as a volunteer in the school board and all that, but he was also a neighbor in that house that he built over on Stevens Lane. And he was a good guy, a real good guy. Ray, thank you.
Gentlemen, anything else?
Well, myself, I've known Ray my whole entire life. I knew Ray as a friend. I knew all of his children, grew up with his children. It was a wonderful family, extended family. At a professional level, I worked with Ray on the, what was it called, the old zoning board, Joe? Worked with Ray there, and then moved on to the planning board, where Ray was also the planning board engineer. And then on to the township committee. Ray was a huge asset to the community, and he will be missed.
Thank you, gentlemen. This time, we'll ask for a moment of silence for Raymond Worrell II. Thank you. We're going to jump around on the agenda a little bit. At this time, I'm going to do two proclamations. At this time, for the folks from the Lenape Regional District, please join me in the conference. Heads up, eyes forward, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Heads up and look that way. Whereas in 2010, students from the Lenape Regional High School District created a student-led safe driving campaign entitled Heads Up, Eyes Forward. And whereas the mission of the campaign is to spread the message of safe driving and to warn of the hazards of distracted driving. And whereas since the establishment, the campaign has partnered with the New Jersey Department of Transportation and various other departments from surrounding states, and has been the recipient of many awards. Whereas April 25th will be declared Heads Up, Eyes Forward Day, on which messages encouraging safe driving will be displayed outside of local high schools, elementary schools, police departments, and fire stations, and throughout several states along the East Coast. Now therefore, I, Stephen B. Lee IV, Mayor of the Township of Tabernacle, on behalf of my colleagues in the Township Committee and all the citizens of Tabernacle Township, recognize and commend the efforts of all of the students who continue to lead the Heads Up, Eyes Forward campaign and wish them continued success in their endeavors. Thank you very much for your service. Thank you. Absolutely. Yeah, that picture's important. Yes.
Thank you.
Could you volunteer to do that, please? You guys can
That's
Yes.
in the middle. Want to swing around?
Yeah, once
When
more.
are you showing us?
What happened? Did you give up?
No pressure.
Excellent.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, you did that.
You're welcome to make a comment regarding
Yeah,
the
so
program.
my name's Max, and Scott, Derek, Sam, David, and Alex. We're here from the primarily Lenape High School in Shawnee, and we're part of a program called Heads Up Eyes Forward, whose main goal is to bring awareness about the dangers of distracted driving and ultimately end distracted driving, because it's a very dangerous thing that occurs while driving. So this is another way of our spreading our message and building awareness about the program we have here. It was started in 2010 by Lenape students, and it's just been building and building year after year, and it's just another way to promote the message and Heads Up Eyes Forward. All right.
At this time, it gives me great pleasure to ask up Lori Lowe, please. Lori is a very dedicated resident of Tabernacle Township. I've had the pleasure of knowing probably for the better part of 20 years. It gives me great pleasure to read a proclamation. I'll go ahead and get started with that. Whereas Parkinson's disease is a chronic progressive neurological disease and is the second most common neurodegenerative disease in the United States, and whereas extensive research in laboratories all over the world has led to improved treatment in alleviating symptoms while searching for a cure, and whereas the American Parkinson's Disease Association is devoted to research and education and also help Parkinson's patients keep informed of ongoing research, available medications, and the importance of speech and physical therapy. And whereas the symptoms of Parkinson's disease vary from person to person and can include tremors, slowness of movement and rigidity, difficulty with balance, swallowing, chewing, and speaking, cognitive impairment and dementia, mood disorders such as depression and anxiety, constipation, skin problems, and sleep difficulties. And whereas volunteers, researchers, caregivers, and medical professionals are working to improve the quality of life of persons living with Parkinson's disease and their families, whereas research, education, and community support services are needed to find more effective treatments and to provide access to quality care to those living with the disease today. Now therefore, I, Stephen B. Lee IV, Mayor of the Township of Tabernacle, on behalf of my colleagues in the Township Committee and all of the citizens of Tabernacle Township, do hereby proclaim April as Parkinson's Disease Awareness Month and urge our community to promote awareness to fight Parkinson's disease, thereby improving the quality of human life for those living with Parkinson's disease. Given under my hand in these free United States in the Township of Tabernacle on 11th April 2016, and to which I have caused the seal of the Township of Tabernacle, State of New Jersey, to be affixed and made this proclamation public. Thank you very much. When you came up the stairs this evening, Lori has a table set up over along the wall there that talks about Parkinson's and
you can come and talk with me or take all the things I have up there. And I want to thank Mayor Lee and the Township Committee for helping make everyone aware of the.
Thank you.
And I need to thank LaShawn for putting it all together.
At this time, we're going to open up the meeting to public comment on agenda items. I will mention to you that a pretty big agenda item for a lot of folks that came this evening is the Emergency Services Subcommittee report. We will have a separate public comment period for that particular agenda item. You're welcome to make any comments at this time on any agenda item, but I wanted to point out that we will have actually 3 comment periods this evening for public comment. One will be now. One will be with the Emergency Services Subcommittee report, which will be very open-ended, as well as final public comment after committee reports. So at this time, if you would like to be heard by the committee and your comments to be stated for the record, please come to the center of the room. I will call on you. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes or so. Mrs. Brooks.
Good luck. Thank you for both your
Thank you so much.
work. I have a couple of questions on the bill list. This would be page 2, and its designation is DIN 50, Dining for Dignity, Human Trafficking Seminar. What is this? This is, we've never seen this before. So, what is Dining for Dignity, and who is involved in this?
Mr. Kramer?
That's a municipal alliance program through the school as part of the drug awareness.
Did anyone from the committee attend this?
I did not, no.
I didn't.
And then I have another question. On under tab 45, which is actually page 4, the restoration of fire truck 4318, which is
13.
Oh,
Correction.
okay. I was wondering where 18 came from, so.
Colonel Lowe would like me to redo that, or no? It's really 13.
Okay, thanks for clarifying that. I also have a couple of questions on the resolution. The resolution for the shared service would be 2016-56 for shared services agreement for Hanover, the certified recycling coordinator. How many years have we been doing that shared service?
This is the year to renew. We've been doing it
4 years, okay. Do you have how much money we've saved by doing that shared service? You know offhand?
Well, we've generated $200 a year in fees, and it's allowed us to use that towards our points for our last 5% of our state aid.
Okay. And what about 2016-57 Springfield? Is that included in that $200?
No,
It's separate. Okay. How long have we been doing Springfield?
this will be the first year.
First year. Okay, so it's a big difference. Do you anticipate, what savings do you anticipate from this?
The same.
Same, 200, the fees?
The fees plus it counts as a shared service for us this year, so it allows us to qualify for our last 5%
Okay.
of state aid. Or towards it. It's a point system. That's one of the ways we can generate points.
That goes with that best management, it's part of that
Yes.
best management practices list?
Yes.
Okay, has that already been reviewed? I can't, what's the timing of that?
September,
September, okay.
September, beginning of October.
Okay. Okay, I think that's it, thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Brooks.
Yeah.
Any other comments from the public at this time? Yes, sir.
Hi, Jason Lidowitz, 542 Court. First of all, thanks for the proclamations. I think they were well received. We're on Resolution 2016-59 and the release of, I guess, almost 3 years of executive session minutes. I think everybody in this room probably agrees that transparency is good. It's a good thing. But I do have a question specifically regarding the minutes for 7/28/14. Partial release is recommended. First and second paragraph concerning Brooks First Tabernacle is acted for release at a later date. If I'm not mistaken, that lawsuit was settled. Actually, I believe that same evening, you guys approved an resolution to accept the settlement offer. So given that it's over 1.5 years old now, I just want to know on what grounds are you still redacting that information?
I hate to disappoint you, Jason, we're going to actually table the whole resolution because there's a discrepancy between what council had sent to Sean and what we actually have. That's based on his direction. You can certainly comment.
So we'll take another look at those and be back on the next agenda.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments from the public? Seeing none, we'll close the public. Resolution 2016, I'm sorry, back up. Approval of the bills. Need a motion for the bills, please. Second?
Second.
Doug had already mentioned the change on the fire truck numbers. Doug, anything else on these?
No, I don't believe so.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Park?
Yes.
Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Franzen?
Yes.
Mr. Yates?
Yes.
Mayor Lee?
Yes. Resolution 2016-54, approving the street opening permit for Block 809, Lot 29, 3 Alden Court. Need a motion and a second, please.
I'll make it.
Second?
Second.
Any questions or comments? Dan, anything for this?
No, it's just a straightforward new service application for a resident.
Thank you, Dan. Roll call, please.
Mr. Barton?
Yes.
Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Franzen?
Yes.
Mr. Yates?
Yes.
Mayor Lee?
Yes. Resolution 2016-55, approving the raffle applications for the Church of the Holy Eucharist. Need a motion, please, and a second.
Actually, Peter, you'll do your spiel first.
Anytime that there is a application involving the church, we do have multiple members of the committee that are members of the parish. Therefore, there could be a personal interest conflict, but given the local nature of the action, the ministerial nature of the action, we would invoke the rule of necessity, and pursuant to that case law, ask the committee to go ahead and vote.
I'll make the motion. Need a second, please?
Second.
Roll call?
Mr. Barton?
Yes.
Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Franzen?
Yes.
Mr. Yates?
Yes.
Mayor Lee?
Yes. Resolution 2016-56, authorizing execution of a shared service agreement with the Township of New Hanover for certified recycling coordinator service. Need a motion, a second, please? Make the motion. Need a second?
Second.
Doug, any comments?
This is a continuation of our present agreement with New Hanover. And it allows us, as I stated, Mr. Brooks, it generates $200 a year for us, which we can use back towards recycling costs, and it also allows us to gain points on the survey for the final 5% of state aid.
So it's a win-win.
Yes, it is.
Plus $200. Roll call?
Mr. Barton?
Yes.
Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Franzen?
Yes.
Mr. Yates?
Yes.
Mayor Lee?
Yes. Resolution 2016-57, authorizing execution of a shared service agreement with the Township of Springfield for certified recycling coordinator services. Need a motion, a second, please?
I'll make it.
Second?
Second.
This is the same thing.
Exact same thing,
Yeah.
except their
Brand
previous
new.
recycling coordinator is no longer doing it, and it is.
Roll call?
Mr. Barton?
Yes.
Sorry, I'm trying to use my mind to get that.
I think you said yes.
Thank you. Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Franson.
Yes.
Mr. Yates.
Yes.
Mayor Lee.
Yes.
Thank you.
Resolution 2016-58, approving change order number 1 for the 2015 Park Project Phase 2A. I'll take a motion in a second, and then we'll discuss this a little bit.
Make the motion.
Second. Doug, Dan, either one of you?
Sure, this is a change order for the park project that we're doing with Allstate Landscaping. Basically, consisted of the dugout, for the most part, dugouts at the dugout structures at Patty Boker and Brickett's Mill. We were able to save some of the existing dugout slabs, thereby reducing the amount of the contract, and at the same time, we installed footings for future dugouts for the fields that we did not do dugouts. So it's actually a net savings to the township of just over $17,000 by doing that, and we're sort of getting a jump on the installation of future dugouts for the balance of the field.
And we will be repurposing a portion of this money once we accept this, and probably next workshop, or at the next meeting, to tear down the old snack stand.
Any volunteers yet? I bet you might. I can think of one particular individual. I'm around shaking his head. I might just get you a sledgehammer. Yeah, I wouldn't take much. Any other comments or questions from the committee? Roll call.
Mr. Barton.
Yes.
Ms. Brown.
Yes.
Mr. Franson.
Yes.
Mr. Yates.
Yes.
Mayor Lee.
Yes. I need a motion to table Resolution 2016-59, release of executive session minutes. We did discuss this a few minutes ago. Any other questions or comments? We'll take those at this time. I'll ask for a motion and a roll call vote for table.
Motion based upon each recommendation?
Yes. I'll make the motion. Second.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Barton.
Yes.
Ms. Brown.
Yes.
Mr. Franson.
Yes.
Mr. Yates.
Yes.
Mayor Lee.
Yes.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is preliminary discussion of proposed ordinance amending Chapter 22, Streets and Sanitation, Excavation and Streets. I'm going to turn the discussion to be led by Mayor Emeritus Parker.
Thank you, Mayor. This has to do with Chapter 12, which is our streets. And Tabernacle Township does not have a moratorium on street openings. What a moratorium is, if we pave a street, anyone can come in and get a permit and excavate into them streets if they follow the permit process that's laid out in 12-2 of our ordinance. We've discussed this. As you know, South Jersey Gas is expanding their infrastructure in Tabernacle. And there was a need for them to get into a street that was recently paved. Our engineer met with them, and fortunately we were able to avoid them getting into that street. So we've been discussing this 5-year moratorium, and Mr. Kramer and I met with South Jersey Gas. We met with their construction manager. We met with their a woman from their corporate office that does leadership development, and another woman who is actually assigned to Tabernacle Township as their public affairs liaison. We asked them to review their processes for street openings, and you heard us tonight, we just did a resolution on a street opening permit. And every street opening permit goes through a resolution process that our clerk, Mrs. Barber, has to give us documents. In this case today, it was a 6-page document with the drawing, with the permit, with the application. LaShawn takes the permit, she communicates it to our engineer, she develops a resolution, and it comes in front of us. So we were looking at a better method or a better process to streamline that and make it in compliance with our ordinance. There's nothing in our ordinance that says we need to do it that way. So when Mr. Kramer and I met with South Jersey Gas, it turns out they have a new contractor, which is called Klein Construction. I worked in the utility business for 46 years. Klein is a reputable contractor. They also hired a third party to do all their inspections of the work of Klein Construction. So when they excavate in the streets, they'll have a third party inspection done, and then they will guarantee that closure. Some of the things we talked about was the quality of their work, how they bore under a road, at what depths. They assured us that if it's a main, they would bore a minimum 3 feet. If it was a lateral, it'd be a minimum of 2 feet. We asked them how they would close the roads, how they would compact the roads. And they went through and gave us their QA spec, which basically says that they open a road, they would close the road by compacting it in 6 to 10 inch lifts, meaning you would put 6 to 10 inches of fill, you would compact it, 6, 10 inches of fill, you would compact it. When they were done, they would put 6 inches of DGA, which is a stone base with powder in it. They would compact that. They would have a 4-inch base and then a 2-inch finish on top of the road. That's a very good road if they do it that way. We were concerned about the moratorium roads that we would put under moratorium, and they agreed that if a road was paved in less than 5 years, they would use what's called an infrared process. And basically what they would do is if they opened an area this size, they would take, it's basically what it's a big heat plate that they use propane on, and they would heat the area around it roughly 12 to 18 inches, and then they would put the new macadam in it and they break it with the old macadam, and then they roll it, and what you have is a seamless road. So there's no tar seam, which is usually where the road fails. When a car goes down the road and it hits that patch, it'll move that patch. By having a seamless road, that won't take place. So they agreed that they would do that even without a moratorium. We also said that in consideration for that, what we would discuss tonight is changing our process, allowing them to just come in and get a permit from LaShawn. They would pay the fee according to our fee schedule, and then LaShawn would send that permit to our engineer, Dan Guzzi. Dan would review it, and then if Dan saw that the permit was okay to release, he would give it to LaShawn. Now, the committee has always wanted to exercise control over South Jersey Gas if things don't go right. We still have that ability, even though the resolutions don't come in front of us, because all we have to do is instruct our administrator, LaShawn, not to issue a permit until we resolve the issue. So we agreed with South Jersey Gas that we would do this on a trial basis. If, in fact, their quality was up to par, we would continue. We did have, Mr. Kramer had some issues with some better roads. One was Route 206 and Tabernacle Road, which when they built the high school, they put a gas line down that road, and if you go over that road, you know that there's a bump. So they agreed to come back and revisit that and solve that problem. There was also a problem at Vale Drive and Oak Shade Road, Wicklow, Bedford Lakes, and Forest, which they all agreed that they would come out and resolve the issues on all these roads. For anyone that wants gas service, the way they expand their gas service, and I get the question from where I live in Fox Chase, and the gas service is not in Fox Chase yet. And I've been there since 1978. Most of them homes have changed their heaters once, some of them are ready to change them twice. And of course, they would like to change them to natural gas. What South Jersey Gas does is they look at the revenue projections for an area, and they look at a 10-year period, and if they can recover the revenue, and it's all done under the New Jersey Board of Public Utilities, which regulates them, then they will come into the area and they will expand the gas service. So that's how they've been expanding their infrastructure in Tabernacle Township. The gas line originally came down O'Shea Road, then it came up Bedford Lakes Road, and then it went down 206, and then from 206 it went to Hawkins Road and went into the school, and from the school it came down here to the grammar school. So if you were on that route, you were one of the you had one of the first opportunities to convert. Gates Plaza was one of the first to convert. They have since continued those gas lines, and they're out across from the ball field right now. So they continue to expand their infrastructure. They do have a sales manager. His name is Gary Marinelli. His number is 609-444-7639. If you want gas in your home, and you're not sure where it is, call that number, get your number on the list. What they do is once they get enough calls, they look at that formula, and then they will actively market that area. They will contact you, they'll contact the other folks in that area, and then once they get a viable project, they'll communicate with you on a monthly basis until that project is a go, and then they'll install the infrastructure. That's pretty much everything I had, and so what I'm asking the committee tonight is to change the process, not to bring the resolutions in front of the board, allow the clerk to issue the permit which the ordinance provides, and allow our engineer to manage them. And if there's any problems, let our engineer bring it to our attention. Our past engineer inspected all their openings, and there was a fee collected and charged to them for that. We agreed that under this process, that with their quality control, that our engineer would do random tests, would do random inspections, which they would cover the cost of. And if in fact they do good work, it's a win-win for everyone, as long as they have the third-party inspection and we have assurance that the work is good. If there's any failures, bring them to our attention and we'll address them. Doug, did you want to add anything? Because you were actually part of the meeting also.
Just that they've been working very closely with us since that meeting, and we had, on Friday, we came up with another issue with South Jersey Gas where they had cut through one of our stormwater lines, but they've been very good at coming out. They brought the previous contractor back out. They're scheduling the repair for that after they get the mark out, but they have been very good about being here and addressing it. Actually, they addressed it on Friday with me, and then came back to us about it. So, the only thing that we probably haven't talked about is the size of the bond. I don't know whether, and I'll leave this up to the committee on whether it should be a little larger given the amount of work they're doing, or whether you're fine with the dollar amount.
Yes. Right now, by ordinance, that bond is $5,000, correct?
Yes. Whether you wanted it at 10, I don't know. That's a committee decision, or your recommendation is fine. Okay.
But they've been previously paying a $5,000 bond plus inspection fees, which wasn't exactly within our ordinance. Is it worthwhile talking about a higher bond number, or they want the money back?
I would defer to our engineer, Dan. $5,000 covers a lot of.
Yeah, when you look at it individually, the problem is when they're doing these larger expansions and you know, spotting all over the town, the number gets higher. But presumably with the quality control, everything's not going to fail at once. What the $5,000 gives you is the ability to go in if there's a certain patch or trench repair that's failed and they're not responsive. And again, the bond, I think, is for just if they're not responsive. So the indication is, you know, that they would be responsive and you wouldn't ever get to the point where you need to call that bond. So that's something, if it's in the ordinance now, you might want to let it ride, and then if we do see that there are problems, we can always address it at that time.
Mr. Mayor, I would recommend, as our engineer said, let the bond ride at $5,000. They have never not been responsive that we had to go into the bond. And they're working with Mr. Kramer, they're cooperating with him, and we're getting every issue resolved.
Mr. Martin, if we were to require, based on Mr. Grizzy's recommendation, a larger bond, that would require that we modify the ordinance. May I suggest that the committee consider a minor change that would say in a bond not less or not more than $10,000 in an amount, based on the recommendation of Mr. Guzzi, because then he'd have that built-in flexibility. He wouldn't have to change the ordinance to get a higher bond.
So if you wanted to change it, you wouldn't have to change the ordinance?
Correct, yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I'm okay with it where it is, and putting the moratorium ordinance in chapter 12-1.
We need a moratorium ordinance as it is.
We don't have one, we need one, and so I would ask that we accept this new process, and we also direct our solicitor to draft a moratorium ordinance, a 5-year moratorium, that except for public safety, health hazard, or expansion of their infrastructure, that the road not be opened. If it is open, that it be closed under an infrared process, a seamless process.
So at the very least, we can get a moratorium ordinance drafted, talk about it in 2 weeks.
Yeah, we would have to introduce it if that's where we want to go.
Mr. Barton, this would apply to all the utilities, wouldn't it? Would apply to Verizon and Langsea Electric also, for buried service?
Yeah, we have to write the ordinance so that they can repair any damage, and yet they can expand any infrastructure they need to expand. Otherwise, we're not going to gain the advantage of gas service in certain neighborhoods.
I like what you're saying, but I also agree with Peter. We should have language in there where if we do need to, we can increase the bond to $10,000 without having to, revisit the ordinance and change it.
It's like an insurance policy, right? In case you have a changeover.
I mean, they have been very responsive. We still have the ability to stop any permits that we do see a need where they have problems. So we still have the upper hand.
Rick, any thoughts?
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I think what Joe has said is right. I mean, it's not going to really affect them now, so, unless something gets screwed up, so let's do it.
Okay, so we've got a modification of, understanding this, we have a modification of the ordinance regarding the bond number, but then also a moratorium ordinance that we need Pete to draft, correct?
I'm not saying increase it to 10,000 now, I'm saying
As a limit.
Put the language in there and including it.
Kim, any thoughts?
Yeah, I have a question. We have a pretty substantial list of issues with South Jersey gas that were outstanding. How many of them have been resolved? Has that list been diminished greatly, or is it still pretty big?
What did Alima turn over to you? Was that? Okay. So I'll check with Alima and see where they are with that. I think they had worked through most of them, as I can remember, before the end of the year. There may have been some landscaping issues that wouldn't be addressed till this time of year right now, but I will see that it gets turned over to Dan, so Dan can take a look at that.
A major one I remember.
I know it's a pretty big list, and I would be more comfortable knowing, how much of it has been rectified. I mean, if there's still a lot of outstanding, aside from landscaping issues, there's still a lot outstanding, and I think we should take it forward.
Do you have a copy of the list?
Do I?
Yeah.
Not at that point.
Okay. You don't have anything?
Let me see what I have, and I'll pull that up and get that to you.
Okay, all right. Kim, are you agreeable to doing the draft of two ordinances, but then getting this answer to the hanger-on issues resolved between now and our next meeting?
I would entertain it as long as we get the answers to the questions, because obviously if there's a lot outstanding, I would not be in support of giving up all right.
Yeah. Yeah, we still have to do introduction anyway, so we got plenty of time before we'll get any vote for an ordinance. But it gives Dan and Doug some opportunity to be able to get answers to questions that you've got.
Sure, because, I mean, as you know, they've been outstanding for quite a while. So it would be nice to know that the majority of them have been rectified or have not been, because then that I can put the jury on their working with us.
Now, I wasn't aware of anything specific, aside from the landscaping pieces that need to be dealt with. At this point, I'll ask for a motion for Pete to draft a modification for the ordinance for the bond number change and also the moratorium. Need a motion and a second, please.
I'll make the motion.
Need a second?
Second.
Keep in mind, these two ordinances will be drafted, but we still have some answers to get, questions to get answered, and we still got to introduce them anyway. So, roll call, please.
Thank you. Mr. Bart?
Yes.
Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Francis?
Yes.
Mr. Yates?
Yes.
Mayor Lee?
Yes.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is the Emergency Service Subcommittee report, the long-awaited report that everybody's talking about. There's a couple things I want to talk about before we dive into this. The committee has had an opportunity to review this. This has been out in public for a little over a week, I think. It was an awful lot of work, and I can tell you that from my my personal experience, it was a good experience over the last several months. But a couple things I want to make very clear of. We are not going to be taking action tonight. We are not going to be appointing a public safety director. We're not going to be appointing, I don't know, I mean, there's been so many different rumors that have been going around about what we're doing. I want to make very clear that this is a committee decision. The report that was put together by myself and Deputy Mayor Yates. But this report and this discussion is a public discussion. It's not a decision that's been made behind the scenes, behind closed doors, and then we come in and just drop it on the public. It's not the way it works. The way this process has worked, it's been a fact-finding mission to learn about emergency services across the board. Our community has undergone a lot of changes in emergency services over the last 18 to 24 months. We took over a fire district, which is a pretty big deal. We have looked at how that structure works. We've worked with two really good organizations. We built a brand new building on New Road. We bought a brand new fire truck. There's been a lot of things that have happened within emergency services over the last 24 months. And it really is an opportunity, or this was an opportunity to kind of sit back and look at all layers of the onion. And I want to make very clear, we are not going to be making any decisions tonight. This process is what we want to accomplish this evening, is really hear public feedback on the report, on your thoughts about public safety moving forward. It's the committee's responsibility to take notes, to listen to the public comment. There are questions that we will try to answer. There are questions that we may not have the answer to because they may need to be directed towards the emergency squad directly or the fire company directly. Those are questions that I'm not going to be able to answer, we won't be able to answer. And my vision, I think, is what we'll do is we will have a meeting very similar to what we had over at the school when we were looking at the fire district. It was a big meeting that we had a lot of public comment, and that's probably an opportunity to get questions answered at that point. So once we get through this discussion this evening, we'll invite the emergency squad and the fire company leadership to come to our meeting and sit up here with us and take any specific questions that we can't get answered tonight. So I want to make those two pieces clear that this is an ongoing discussion, number one. Number two, we are not making any decisions tonight. We do not have any idea what we're going to do at this point because the only piece we haven't really heard from is you folks. And by the way, you're the folks that are paying the taxes last I checked and have a pretty big voice about what we do. I want to tell you that this process, which started back in October, for me personally has been really a learning experience in a lot of ways. We are very, very fortunate in our community, after looking at all the different communities that are surrounding us and looking at other states and municipalities and counties, we are very, very fortunate to have the volunteerism that we do here in town, not only from the emergency squad, but from the rescue division of the emergency squad, the fire company, our OEM coordinator. We are truly blessed to have a facility as fine as we do, not only on New Road, but the one on Hawkins Road as well. This experience and looking at emergency services, to my thought was that this wouldn't take us long when Joe actually conceived the idea to have the subcommittee look at it. I will tell you that the more layers of the onion we peel back, the more we learn. And we learned a lot of things. This issue with emergency services is not something that just kind of happened overnight. When I first became mayor in 2013, the very first thing I had to do was negotiate a lawsuit between the fire company and emergency squad. That kind of stuff should be happening. We had the chief of the fire company coming here several weeks ago, or months ago at this point, and was concerned about public safety, and brought that into a public meeting. That's not the place for those discussions. If there's discussions that need to happen between the emergency squad and the fire company, they need to happen between the fire company and the emergency squad, sitting at a table somewhere. So what concerns me is that with the last several weeks, there's been a lot of rhetoric and a lot of rumor and assumptions that we are taking over the emergency squad, that we're combining them both together. That's not what's in our report at all. Our report is very far from that. Our report basically observes two organizations that are some of the finest in Burlington County, award-winning. I went down and sat at an awards dinner for the emergency squad back in 2013 for award they got for Volunteer Organization of the Year. One line I want to reiterate in this report. Overall, it is clear from our review that the township is very well served by the individuals and organizations in the providing of emergency services. Each individual that has chosen to work in emergency services have made personal commitments to the community, its residents, and their safety. This fact-finding mission has helped us to better understand the challenges and personal sacrifice made on behalf of the residents. Both organizations do a phenomenal job. Our responsibility as the members of the subcommittee was to look at how do we do business now, what have the challenges been in the past, and what can we do moving forward. That's been our responsibility to the taxpayers. That's been our responsibility to the community, period. And it's been a long process, but I'm very proud of the work we did in putting this together. I will give Mayor Yates, Deputy Mayor Yates, an opportunity to talk, and then we're going to go ahead and open up for comments.
You touched base on everything, but contrary to what you may have read and may have seen on Facebook, what you may hear through the rumor mill, we are not taking away any services from this community. As Stephen said, this is a fact-finding document, and we're opening it up to you. We want to hear your input. But nothing is going to change as far as your services.
I have one comment I want to make, and then we're going to open up the public discussion. When this process began, I spent an awful lot of time really talking to a lot of different people. We spoke with a lot of different folks that have different interests within both organizations, but also outside the township as well as in different parts of the community. I can't stress enough how fortunate we are that we have a strong group of individuals that are willing to get up in the middle of the night to answer the call. I can tell you, I serve in the Forest Fire Service as a deputy fire warden. Sandy will call me or Sean and Judy will call me when there's an absolute emergency at our back door. I've got to in the fire truck and doing that. I will tell you that I don't have the stomach to be able to do what some of the folks do in the emergency squad in the fire company. And they will forever have my utmost respect, period. We are very, very thankful to have them as individuals in our community. Our responsibility is to help make their jobs a lot easier. And that's been our commitment, and that's why we did this. That's why we peeled the layers of the onion back, to understand what we have. With that being said, any other comments from the committee at this point?
Mayor, the only thing I question is, so this appears, is this a completed document, or is this a draft waiting for the public?
Not by a long shot. This, what we need to do as a committee, in my opinion, and Deputy Mayor Yates may have a different opinion, but the thought is to compile the public comments, is for us to absorb those, is for us to discuss them. As I said, we may not be able to get all the questions answered tonight because some of the questions may be directed towards the leadership of the squad, fire company, OEM, whatever. And those questions can be answered by those organizations at a later time. But tonight, I think it's a lot of note-taking on our standpoint. I'm glad we've got a couple sources in terms of recording the meeting, because I'll plan on paying a lot of attention to that. Any other comments, thoughts, questions? Okay, at this point, we're going to open the meeting to the public. If anyone is interested in commenting at this time, please come to the center of the room. I will call on you. Raise your hand. Please come to the center of the room underneath the microphone. And your meeting is open to the public at this time. There's a lot of folks here that don't have hands up yet. I don't want to close this. Yes, sir.
My name is Jim Jones, 16 Way from Tabernacle, and I don't know why everybody's afraid to raise their hand.
Thanks for raising your hand.
Yeah, well, that's why I did it.
That's good.
Let's get some people talking.
That's good.
Like, Richard, full disclosure, I'm a former squad member, 16 years, released in 1982. And at that time, for a significant part of the 16 years, I was president of the organization, and for 1 year served as an operations officer. The problem between the fire company and the squad has existed prior to that, especially with regards to jaws and extraction. Extraction of a patient is patient-oriented. It's not how you cut the metal, it's not how you spread the bars, it's how you do this and maintain the security of the patient. Chief Jackson, and before him, Chief Jackson, made sure that all of us in the squad were trained in that manner. I'm not sure what the fire company has in the way of training, but I'm pretty sure it isn't to that level. I know for a fact that many times the fire company was invited to participate in training, upgrades. Hey, you can become part of this activity. Maybe one or two would show up, which kind of told me that they really weren't interested in doing it our way, which was patient-driven. Didn't like that, and I suspect that's not going to change. I suspect any attempt to join the two organizations is going to result in a duck-like operation where you see the duck sitting very calmly in the water, but the feet are going crazy underneath. What you're going to see in the case of joining of the two, I'm afraid, is that you will now have interdepartmental squabbles that will destroy an organization or organizations that provide exemplary service to this township and to the people of the town. Even the people coming through, visitors or whomever. They ask for help, they get it. 24/7 out of the squad, 24/7 out of the squad. In 1982, I wouldn't have never dreamed of that having happened. It was impossible.
For 24 hours.
24/7 was not going to happen. It didn't happen. It couldn't happen. These people behind me that are wearing the freaking shirts are nothing but praise for them as a former member. They admit the bias. But they do some interesting things that most people don't want to do, as you point out, the fire company.
And the squad as well. I said that.
Yes, I know. Exactly, but your personal experiences with the fire department portion.
As far as fire service,
Yeah.
big difference.
Okay.
No way I'll go to a burning building all around.
I won't either. That wasn't my thing then, and it still isn't. So I would caution the committee to be aware that there are significant differences of opinions between the two organizations as to how rescue happens. The fire company does technical rescue, as I understand it, and it's an entirely different animal. That's where you put wooden trenches and you start prying stuff apart to get people out of buried or that kind of stuff. Not ambulance, not a car wreck, or somebody into a pole, or some drunk who did something incredibly stupid. So I would caution you on that one. I will hold us to things. I know that 99 has become a point of much contention because it's a rescue truck. I wasn't here when the truck was bought. I was in town. I've been in town for 37 years now. I think I'm probably been in town longer than some of you have been alive, which I'm pleased about. I hope I'm in town for a lot longer. The truck, I think, was designed to do automotive rescue. Again, coming back to patient concerns, or education with the patient's condition being number one. I think the truck rightfully belongs with 439. I think it was stationed at 431 because it wouldn't fit in the building across the street. It was before the new building was put together. It was my understanding the truck was parked there because there was no other place to put it unless you wanted to put it in the parking lot, and that seemed kind of stupid. So I have a whole load of notes here. I would caution against the public safety director. I know what you said in the notes about possibly in the future, and have to be a non-fire, non-squad guy, or at least Tabernacle non-fire, but have to have the experience. I'm going to say that kind of reeks of dictatorship, and I think that would destroy both organizations. Right now, both of them do what they do very well. Somebody said, why do you live in Tabernacle? Hey, it's a small town, but the services in this town, including both fire company and rescue or emergency, are beyond belief. I'd rather live here than anywhere else because I trust these people. I trust the fire guys with my life if necessary, because they're the ones that are going to get people out of places where I don't want to go, where I'm afraid to go. I'm claustrophobic. I didn't know that till one night I went up to the smokehouse and got a hell of a surprise.
I think all of us
I didn't
have the
like
same.
that.
All of us have the same thing.
But it's, you know, these men and women, I want to say if paint broke, don't fix it, but there is a break. And I don't know how you fix it. But joining the two groups, I'm afraid of that.
joining them into one organization.
Yeah.
That's not what our report recommends.
Well, I think in there were some words that said that there was some consideration.
Well, I can tell you.
I'm not telling you that you decided that, or not.
Well, I will tell you we haven't, and I mentioned that at the beginning of the
I know.
meeting, but that particular item is under future items to consider.
Yes.
We have a substantial, whether we want to pay attention to it or not, I can tell you as an individual who is paying attention to it. There is a terrorist threat that is existing in our region. We have an individual that's paying attention to that. We could have a potential where we need someone that pays attention to that specifically. Fire, EMS, rescue is changing on a regular basis throughout Burlington County, throughout different regions. Future items to consider is just essentially what that basically means is someday down the road you could have that. It's not what we recommend in the report.
I understand that it may be a preemptive strike, so to speak.
Okay, fair enough. Okay.
Like I said, the people behind me who put on the bunker gear, nothing but praise for all of them. I thank God they're here.
As well.
And I'm asking that to be careful, very careful, that whatever actions we may take in the future doesn't destroy their effectiveness. They're very proud people. I was proud to be a part of it. I do not get the accolades and the applause and all this other crap that some people get, but they're my heroes. And I want to tell you what, as I get older, I really appreciate the emergency squad. And I'll tell you, because my son's an ER doc, and he told me that, Dad, you know, you fall off a ladder and break a rib, your mortality goes up 10%. You break 3, it goes up 30%. I want these guys back there to patch me together.
Sure. In
the same manner that they're doing now, 24/7. I'm guaranteed an ambulance at my doorstep if I need it, and everybody else's too. And even if you're not in Tabernacle, mutual aid. And that's another touchy subject among some people. But mutual aid is what makes volunteerism work. You don't have enough maybe to get 4 trucks out, but you may need 4 trucks sometime. Gotta get 1 or 2 from Chemung, or maybe get 1 from Hampton Lakes, maybe 1 from Woodland, where they all work together. Even though they're allegedly independent, they're not totally independent. Without mutual aid, it won't work. And I know there's some people in the audience who take exception to mutual aid, and who's paying for what, and who's not getting paid for what. Quite frankly, I don't give a damn. If you need 4 trucks, you need 4 trucks. And if you can't get 4 trucks out of this building, then you better start getting them from somewhere else. Out at it will not work. That's a good. So
thank you very much for your comments.
Be careful, please. I don't want to change Tabernacle. I like Tabernacle the way it is.
A lot of people feel the same way you do.
John Horn, 17 Lakeview Drive. I don't agree with that gentleman there totally. I've been involved with the Forest Fire Service and volunteer fire department for over 34 years. As for this rescue unit should go out with the fire department. I've known many rescues, time and time again, when you roll up, you need an engineer. You need the guys in turnout gears, Scott packs, whatever it's going to be. You don't know what you're going to have. The squad does a great job. The squad rolls up, they start working on the patient. Now you got them contaminated, or they're caught in a fire or exploding. Sometimes the fire truck's not there before the squad gets there. When that fire truck rolls up, they should be able to rescue anybody in there. Once that patient's out of that vehicle, then it belongs to the squad. That's my opinion. That should be put to rest. And I don't think there's any other fire company in Burlington County that the squad does the rescue.
That's correct.
The fire company does the rescue.
That's correct.
So that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Mr. Horn. Mr. Jackson, or Tim, yeah, go ahead, Mr. Jackson.
George Jackson Jr., 14 South Park Road, Tabernacle. Some of you people may know me, some may not. I've given 49 years to EMS, 43 years with this organization. My esteemed colleagues here were interviewed by members of the committee to see what their take was because they're older members. Correct me if I'm wrong. Did you speak with these 2 gentlemen? Yet nobody from the committee approached me, and I was chief for 25 years. I think I would have something to say too.
This
So I
is
don't
your-
think,
this is your opportunity.
yes, so I don't think that the investigation included everybody. I think certain individuals were picked to make certain adjustments to the way you want the report to be. And I totally disagree with it. There are things said in the report that are said that are very questionable, but the answer we always get is that it's to be interpreted later. Thank you.
Tim?
Timothy Galvin, 37 Washington Way. I supported and continue to support the referendum and the bond for the new EMS facility. It was necessary, required. Gives great service. I support a coordination of public safety and services. I think what I heard from two representatives, one from the fire department and one from EMS, is that there should be joint coordination. There should be combined services. And I'd like to see that come together. As a citizen, to me, it's an analogy to the school system. You have a regional school, you have a local school district, but they need to coordinate curriculum, they need to work together. My father was a public safety engineer. I grew up doing fire drills in my house. It's important to have all hands on decks, as I've heard. So I agree with both gentlemen that facilities need to learn how to come together and serve the public. I'll continue to support all avenues to maintain and improve township services. I think they're phenomenal. I've been a recipient in my household. I've been a volunteer and seen our EMT service come together and very quickly. This was from the old building, so the new building just adds that much more to our services. I know there are continual changes relative to operations across the U.S., especially with Affordable Health Care Act, and I think our EMT squad, from what I've read, has done a great job to leverage those opportunities. As a taxpayer, I would like to also see the township considering leveraging changes in the insurance billing and the ratables. As a taxpayer for the last 27 years, and I continue to be, I want to be a taxpayer for many more years. My son is moving to the township with his 3 boys. I mean, you know, it's just a place I'm proud, and I want to be friends with a community that serves each other. So I hope that we work together. If there are changes in laws that allow for billing that can reciprocate the taxpayers for bonded buildings for any equipment and reduce overall tax burden, I encourage that by the Township Committee to explore that. I don't know what our compensation is for, I don't know what the compensation is. I don't know if the committee had a chance to receive compensation reports for the president, for the chief, and for members of the committee. I encourage compensation because it delivers a higher quality of individual, and volunteerism becomes professionalism. But it does need to be managed so that it benefits all taxpayers, and so that it coordinates and brings together all elements of the safety community to serve the community as a whole. So I support your efforts, Joe and Stephen, and I support the committee's efforts to continue to explore opportunities to bring the township together. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes. I can't see that. Oh, this is, Megan Jones. You're sitting behind Ron. I couldn't see it.
I apologize. Megan Jones, Sports Report. When this committee or subcommittee was created, the purpose was to look at joining the two organizations in an effort to save money. That, because I came here at the next meeting, and I specifically asked, because the last 3 years I've been coming to meetings, and there was talk about this balance billing, and the squad was working on this 3-year plan to work with the township to save taxpayers money. And I was curious why we were looking at another way of saving money before they even gave their report about what their request was going to be for this upcoming calendar year. And I didn't necessarily get a response at that time, and that's okay. What I now know is that their request was 42% decrease. I believe your budget you're considering is a 50% decrease from 70,000 to 35,000. And Doug, I love you, so please don't take this personally. If Doug came to you with Public Works and said, we're going to decrease the budget and maintain services, we're going to decrease our request by over 40%, I think you guys would be lauding him as the best administrator in the history of this township, which you probably are, so please don't take that personally. That was the purpose as it was stated when the subcommittee was created. So when I saw this report, in all honesty, I was very taken aback about how it was constructed. Because I thought that the subcommittee had a very different purpose than what I was reading in the report. When the district for the
Can I ask you a quick
yeah.
explanation? You thought the report, the point was to combine the two organizations?
When I believe that the motion was made to create the subcommittee, Mr. Yates mentioned it was to try and save money by considering and looking at the possibility of combining the two organizations.
Possibility.
This is a complete, to me,
The
this is a sideline.
Is it possible, and if you remember, I stated that there are several members who were joint members of both organizations.
And they have been for years. But
So
to me, as a
that's one of the
taxpayer
reasons why.
and as an individual, this report came as quite a surprise that it was such a side from what, as someone sitting in the audience, I perceived was the purpose of the subcommittee.
And as Stephen stated, when you start peeling back the onion skin, we kept finding more and more and more.
And I'll be honest with you, reading through it, once again, what I've heard is that the emergency squad is doing an amazing job. That the fire company is going through a lot of changes through the dissolution, but that they are still providing exemplary service. I know it was very briefly mentioned, Colonel Lowe, an OEM, CERT, providing amazing service. I don't know many places around here that have this level of service and this level of volunteerism. It's one of the reasons I moved my family here. It's one of the reasons I want to raise my child here. I am absolutely terrified that you guys, the way this is presented, is going to stop the volunteerism from these organizations. These people care very deeply. It takes a lot to get them to do these things, as you said. But I'll be honest with you, what I'm seeing from this report is not coming together, is not helping this. In all honesty, Mr. Williams Yates, what I see is a huge amount of divisiveness that is stirring up things and making them worse. I don't believe an idea of a public works safety person is going to help. I think it's just another level. I'd rather have those guys sit and talk. You're putting another level, another employee in the mix when we're doing layoffs. To me, I'll be perfectly honest, I think you guys have made this worse. I don't think you've ID'd anything new. I think when the squad cut their request by 40% with 24/7, 365-day-a-year service, that is a tremendous help, and maybe that will change. But now talking about, well, maybe we should cut back even more. The last thing I want to end up is having some member of our community who is at risk because of insurance have to make a decision about whether to pay a bill for having to go to the hospital through EMS because down the line you're considering an outside source, possibly future considerations, or paying for their medication, or paying for that's not what this community is about. It is about caring for our neighbors. It is about lending a helping hand. And mutual aid, same thing. Because last year when we had a tragedy, other communities came in and helped our guys out, and rightfully so. All right? Mutual aid is not a bad thing. It is what small communities with heart still do. It is about reaching out to our neighbors, whether they're in Tabernacle or in my neighborhood, across the street, in some areas, Shamong, all right? And lending that helping hand and not asking, oh my gosh, it's going to cost me $100 in taxes. You know what? Taxes are important, but human beings are more important. Honestly, I think this is making it worse. The idea that you started off with, we're going to have a big meeting at the school and have another conversation, I think you're making it worse. Your intent may be good, but it's not working.
So Megan, let me ask you a question. What are you suggesting?
Honestly, I think have Mr. Kramer sit down, fire, rescue, talk. Honestly, I think you guys getting in and with the best of intentions possibly, but with less experience, you're stirring up things you don't understand. And there might be things that I don't understand. And I don't think a public safety, someone coming from the outside, is going to make it any better. But I think we need to let things cool down. There's been a lot of change with fire system, new fire company. That's a lot of change for a community that's pretty steady. You need to let it settle. EMS is decreasing what it's asking for taxpayers. It's been moving in this direction. too much change for the sake of change, not always good. But I'm concerned that what we're gonna end up having is fire and EMS decide that they're not appreciated and walk out that door. And I don't want to have some random person showing up my doorstep if I've got a problem. I like the fact that I know that it's my neighbors, my friends, the people from my community. If my house is on fire, if there's a medical emergency with my child, who are going to care about them, not because it's their job, because it's their passion and this is their community. That's priceless. That's why people move to townships like Tabernacle. It's not about the buildings, it's about the people.
True.
Thank you.
So you're saying there should be no accountability, that nobody should answer to the township in any way, shape, or
I
form?
think you do. And I think that you guys can say what type of reports you want and what type of information from Mr. Kramer. I think you have a lot of good resources. I'm not sure you guys know exactly where you're going with this. I think you know where you're going. I think it's going to blow up.
We want public input.
Yeah, that's why we're here.
And that's fine. And that's my one person.
I'm going to ask, we'll try to keep the comments of 3-4 minutes or so. What's up? My car. Okay.
In case you can't see her.
Well, I can't. Is that T in the back? It is T in the back. Anyway, we want to try to keep the comments consolidated, but I also want to give everybody opportunities.
And please do not reiterate anything that somebody else has already stated.
I'm not. Tina Marie Coolidge, 28 Waltham Drive. I love what you said, Mayor Lee, about the opportunity to look at all the layers of the onion. I think whenever you look at a program evaluation or you're looking at some type of assessment, there are so many layers that you have to look at. And I also love that you both referenced that it was a fact-finding mission, which is what I think is really, really important. I think there's two components that we're looking at here. We're looking at buy-in from two divisions that need to find a way to work together, which is a whole other conversation. And then we're looking at the fact-finding mission, which is what I'm specifically looking at with regard to the subcommittee report. So can you talk to me a little bit, Mayor Lee and Deputy Mayor Yates, please, about your process in evaluating the various organizations and how you came up with the information that resulted in your recommendations for the report?
Okay, basically, it boils down to life safety for the community.
I'm sorry, what?
Boils down to life safety for the community as a whole. All the organizations, how they're all tied together, how they're working together. And the common denominator kept coming full circle is we have a problem with the squad and we have a problem with the fire department communicating. That seems to be the big problem. And everybody that we talked to all said the same thing. That's our main issue. That's the main concern. How do we address it? How do we deal with it? Yes, as Mrs. Jones stated, everyone's supposed to report to Doug. Doug's done the best he can. But there's still no communication and accountability. And that's what we're trying to address.
Understood. So my question really was more about process. How did you go about your fact-finding mission? Did you do a SWOT analysis with each of the organizations? Did you ask the same interview questions to each member of both organizations so you can look for common themes? What was your process for obtaining all of that information that resulted in the report?
Some folks wanted to remain anonymous, which is why they weren't named in any of this kind of new organizations. But I will tell you, we met with the leadership of both the emergency squad and the fire company. I'll say leadership, we met with Jamie and George. Pete was there, actually, and myself, Joe Yates, the president, and the chief of the fire company. We met with them on at least 3 different occasions, maybe 2. At least 3 times.
At least 3.
Yeah, at least 3 times. But it was very methodical in the discussions we had.
That's what I'm interested in.
Yeah, it was very methodical. It was very methodical. We essentially sat down first with Fire department, yeah, that's right. Yeah, we started with the fire department. Actually, we didn't start with the fire department, we started with someone that's involved in fire, but not in this municipality. But the questions were very simple. And the questions were, where do you see emergency services now? Where do you think we need to go? Two very basic questions. The conversations were very productive, in my opinion. In fact, I sat down personally with George Jackson and Pete Zane for a better part of 7.5 hours one night, and then again, probably 2 weeks later. So we were very methodical in the discussions we had, but the primary folks that we wanted to sit down were the leadership of the fire company, leadership of the emergency school. We met with members of the public, we met with former committee members, it's all outlined in the report.
Right.
But the general theme was, where do you think we are? Where are we going? Where do you think we need to go? And they were very open-ended questions, but what it did was it allowed folks who were giving us input, and it's kind of like what we're doing tonight, is we want to hear comments, and that's exactly what we did. Now you have the advantage of having a report in front of you that basically outlines what we discovered in a 5.5-month process. So you've got the opportunity, as Megan just did, to outline what she thought. Mr. Jones did the same thing, what he thought. Mr. Horn did the same thing as well as Tim. So that's kind of the whole point for this part. This is the process where we hear from the public.
I understand that. So was there any type of SWOT analysis done of all the organizations to identify where the actual gap is?
What do you, can you read?
Like a SWOT analysis,
where you look at like the strengths?
Yes, like when you're looking at the strengths, the weaknesses, opportunities, threats. It's a very normative process when you're looking at any type of evaluation of any type of organization or department, so that you can identify those themes and that they're consistent throughout the various divisions that you're looking at.
Yeah, the conversations were very candid about both organizations.
Okay, but no formal SWOT.
Well, what exactly are you asking me, Tina? I already answered the question. Are you looking for documents? What are you looking for exactly?
Yes, if you had documents, that would be great. I mean, I guess what I'm looking at is, in my experience, when you're evaluating an organization, there are documents where there are reports where there's common themes that are identified, where there's opportunities for growth, there's weaknesses here, these are the strengths of these departments, this is where they can work great together, and that would be considered part of the report. And so I guess that's what I feel like is missing from this, that would help to inform the findings and the recommendations, and that's what I'm asking if you have.
We did have those discussions.
Okay. So there are.
It may not be in the form you're looking for. It may not be in the form that you want, but clearly we talked about the strengths and weaknesses of both organizations. We gave the opportunity for them to tell us what they wanted us to know.
Okay. Okay. And is there any type of anonymous, general way that the public can have access to that information that they provided you?
To the documents that we were used in putting this together?
Yeah.
No, not this time.
Okay, well, will it be in the future?
I can't determine that at this time.
Okay. All right, so one of the questions, and I know you said that there's no definite decision with regard to a public safety director. Would that be a full-time or a part-time position?
I think it was outlined in the report.
I don't think it didn't specifically say in the report if it was full-time or part-time.
Yeah, the discussion was about a part-time position, but as I said, we want to hear from the public what the public would like to see. That's why we're doing this.
So that was just what I wanted to clarify. So the intention was for a part-time.
That's correct.
And where would the funding for that position come from?
From the budget.
Well, just last week we talked about cutting 2 part-time individuals because we didn't have the money in the budget, but yet we have the money in the budget for a new position.
I donated $5,000 of my salary last year to help pay for it.
And I thank you for that, actually. I really commend you for that.
So there's $5,000 there.
Well, and if the
And
other members would do
the
the
budget will be done
same,
in 2 weeks. We're going to talk about the budget in 2 weeks.
if the other members would do the same, then we'd have more money towards the budget, right?
But to answer your question, it's a combined, the proposal that we put forward was a combined position of OEM and a public
Right.
safety coordinator, which is outlined in the report.
Right, and part-time.
Yes, that's
Part-time.
correct. That's correct.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other comments from the public? Stephen? Jack, you're next.
Steve Craver, 1000 Old Indian Mills Road. I just wanted to address a couple things that I've heard in the room tonight because I know that you're on a fact-finding mission. You've said that a couple times. and you've also said you don't quite understand how both operations completely operate. I also volunteer in the department that Mr. Horn served in for all those years. I want to speak to fire rescue. I do fire rescue as a volunteer. I've been with Union Fire Company for 10 years now, and I've been in the Metro Division for over 13. I train once a year on rescue. I'm required, it'll be next month, to go show my skills by cutting the door off the car, and I am certified for the entire year to provide extrication in Medford Township. In Tabernacle Township, as a rescue squad member, I am asked to train on rescue and vehicle extrication, or given the opportunity to train on rescue and extrication once a month. That's the difference. We can talk about patient care, we can talk about who has what, what's dirty, what's clean. I, as a member of two organizations, one that does fire rescue, one that does EMS rescue, find that it allows me to be more skilled in the set of skills that I need to have when I get out of that truck to operate, because of the training I'm afforded, because of the focus that Tabernacle Rescue has. I also want to address the comment between volunteerism and professionalism, because I don't think everybody understands that volunteers are required to have the same exact training as paid members. I've been a paid member. I'm currently a paid member of Lumberton Township. I have been a past paid member of Bedford Township. My certifications did not change. The only difference between the certifications I hold as a volunteer in Tabernacle Township is that I do 40 hours a week with the rescue squad, and I also do 40 hours a week with the school, instead of just being paid for my 40 hours a week at the rescue squad. We've talked about volunteerism in town. I've been accused of not being a volunteer by this committee because I have a reimbursement. I average 35 to 40 hours a week of straight ambulance time. That's not counting meetings, that's not counting any other stuff. Dedicated duty crew to the rescue squad. I make less than a committeeman in reimbursement in a year, and you called yourselves in the last meeting volunteers. So I would like the same affording of that. You call me a volunteer when I'm a firefighter, I get low sat. You call me a volunteer over there as well, I would ask. The last thing I'd like to say is I do appreciate the generosity that you showed last month by giving that $5,000 back. I thought that was a good move for the township, and I was excited to see that happen. I would ask, because I know the guys that are affected by that, they're guys that work alongside of us. The Public Works Department is second to none. I also run in Medford. I see the difference. It's been brought up multiple times, and I don't chide the guys over there if the difference in maybe leadership or management or focus. But because I know the guys and I work with the guys that are affected by those layoffs, I would hope that $5,000 is used to save their jobs instead of hiring another person who we haven't proved we need yet. Thank you.
Mr. Sandman.
That's me. John Sandman, 176 Patty Boker Road, retired accountant. The numbers that you portray here are only for the rescue squad. There's nothing here for the fire company.
That's right.
Okay, so we need to see that. Doesn't say what type of corporations they are. Are they taxable under federal guidelines, or are they tax-free under federal guidelines? Your breakout here, I don't think the fire company gets income from billing. I don't think they bill anybody. So that leaves that one out. The problem with some of the numbers are, you're not telling us what their assets are at the end of the year. Here's our fixed hard assets, and here's our dollars and cents. We don't see that. We see income, but we don't see what's left over. So that's the biggest problem. Are they 501c corporations or not? That's the taxable, non-taxable. And as the township, you should have copies of their tax returns as far back as they've got, which is more like 4 or 5 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sandman.
Stuart Brooks, 78 North Middle Road. I want to thank the subcommittee for undertaking this peeling back of the onion. And I understood the process as one that recognized that, as other people have said, there were breaks in the system. There has been a lot of stress and strain for years. And that needed to be corrected, and that structural arrangements needed to be corrected. I didn't understand this as an evaluation of each particular unit. And I see that reflected in the report. You say that the purpose was to fully understand the current design structure and potentially make adjustments if necessary. I think a lot of the comments here tonight have to do with money and lives, and they're both that issue. I mean, it's easy to say, I don't give a damn about costs because lives are in effect, but when you put your budget hat on and when you raise taxes, you have a very practical concern of how you pay for it. And the two issues are always going to be on the table for you. You just can't choose one and ignore the other. And as a taxpayer, I'm very aware that although the proposed budget calls for almost a halving or a 60% reduction in what will be given to the TRS, what the numbers show is that the TRS got twice as much as it used. In other words, it was given 70 a year, and yet the billings that it needed to make up were only about 35 a year. So I don't regard that as a request for a reduction. That's really just a right sizing. It means we were overspending. And it is disturbing that while the township is facing a 4%, rather a 4-cent tax increase, depending on how your budget discussions go, that the TRS has been building surplus. And there's something wrong with, from a practical side, with all the township's subsidies in cash payments, in payments for rent. We pay the bonds, they don't pay rent. For all those things, and all of the money is going over there, and I agree with Mr. Galvin, I believe, who said, and the township is not sharing in any of that. So the township's budget surplus really has been eaten up. There's almost a $500,000 gap, but the TRS has been very successful in building cash. That's a structural arrangement that just isn't right. I think in order to really fully understand the structure, you have to have a complete accounting of all the money that goes into the system. Not because money equals lives, but because in order to make the system functional, working, practical, rational, the money has to be right. And you've got to know where the runs, how much money comes in, how much money comes in from each township. And when you get all that information, then you'll have a full idea of what adjustments need to be made, if any. But you'll understand the system. Until you understand it, you really can't make recommendations. Regarding the proposed safety director, if you choose to go that route, I hear the opinion of a lot of people who've spoken on both sides of this report that there's a lot of bad feelings or strained feelings, and they've been around for a long time. I disagree with what I think is in the report that says that the public safety director, if hired, should be from within the town. I don't think there's a person who could be as professional as needed and as unbiased as needed and be perceived as unbiased as needed. So I think you might be better off going outside the town if you choose to seek to fill that position. I guess one last comment. Throughout all of the proceedings and discussions of emergency services, and I've been involved in a lot of them. I also was pretty outspoken in favor of building emergency services building. I'm glad we have it. And I want the infrastructure. It's good to support our volunteers. But I am struck that there seems to be so little information coming back from the organizations to the township so that you and the public can be informed as to what they do, how they do it, what their issues are. Even something as simple as a roster. You guys should have the roster. You should know who you're insuring. You should know who's driving township emergency vehicles. I don't understand the reluctance to participate in this
effort that has to be cooperative. And I've been at a lot of meetings where people say, can't they just get along? Why can't we cooperate? It's got to come from all sides. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments from the public? Jason? George, your name.
Say George.
Jason Lewis, I fortunately report one topic that was touched on earlier that I want to fill out a little more. You have your report starts with a nice 3-sentence purpose paragraph, although the third sentence really isn't a part of the purpose, it's just an observation of what happened during this. It's really 2 sentences purpose. Nowhere in there do you talk about trying to save money. And contrary to statements that were made earlier, that was the stated purpose of the time, back in October, when the subcommittee was requested to be formed. If you don't believe me, double check the official minutes. It's stated in there multiple times. Now, Mr. Yates, I know you were not present at the closeout meeting when these minutes were adopted, but Mr. Lee, you were. In fact, you made the motion to approve these minutes. So either you didn't read the minutes and you made the motion anyway, or you did read the minutes and you therefore approved that that is in fact what happened. And some quotes, for example, he, meaning Mr. Yates, believes it can save taxpayers money by forming one organization. It would be a cost savings for the taxpayers of the community, and so on. So when you say that that wasn't the purpose, that in fact was the purpose. In fact, I think you missed the mark entirely by not even mentioning that in your opening paragraph here. You completely went off the rails. Now, you did not uncover a lot of good information, but frankly, the purpose of the subcommittee, as stated and as moved in October, was to try to see about forming one organization to save the taxpayers' money. Not only did you not really investigate that, and as I recall, there was maybe 1 or 2 sentences throughout the entire thing talking about maybe saving money. What did you end up with? Basically, you ended up with one, Mr. Lang, no offense to you, you're an hourly wage person, spent some number of hours into this. I appreciate your time, but that's a sunk cost for Mr. Lang's fees. So right off the bat, you cost taxpayers money. You went on and talking about the public safety director. Now, Mr. Lee said that you put up your $5,000 ahead towards that. But overall, that's a one-time thing, at least as of right now. Overall, you're talking about raising the costs. I mean, you're talking about increasing expenses. Whereas again, the whole purpose was to try to save money.
So what's your solution?
My solution, as I told Mr. Lee when I sat down with him at Starbucks, was get the organization in a room. I specifically talked about fire, EMS, CERT, and OEM. Get them in a room and talk. And I also suggested that the township administrator be present as well to act as basically deciding vote if an issue ever came up and it was a split 2-2 vote for some reason. Have operational decisions move there, and if for some reason a decision could not be made, the township administrator as a representative of the township would have the final say. And if for some reason it needed to go beyond there, it could then be brought to this committee as a whole, or maybe a subcommittee or something of that sort.
If I recall correctly, you also indicated that the township committee needed to have a contract with the emergency squad. You still feel that way?
I said as far as outlining what the different, there have been many statements that you want reports and such from the rescue squad.
I'm talking about something you said to me.
Yes, and I'm explaining what I said.
Okay.
If you want those things, get it written down so that everybody's on the same page, everybody knows what you're doing. To simply say, you're not giving us reports.
So you're for a contract or you're against the contract?
That's the question.
Well,
that is the question.
But the answer is, if it makes sense, if the terms in there are agreeable to everybody, then yeah, sure, why not? But to blatantly say that we need a contract with your organization, I don't know what contract you're talking about. So unfortunately, I can't directly answer that question. Now,
well, right now we have a contract with the fire department. We have no contract with the squad.
Correct.
The squad serves the community underneath the resolution.
Yes.
You're still not giving me a concrete answer other than everything has to be written down and everybody has to agree.
Yes.
You are in favor of a contract.
If it outlines, let me, okay, thank you for finding this amusing. It's very important.
You're not giving me a yes or no answer.
It's
simple, yes or no.
If what's in the contract makes sense and everybody agrees on it, and it outlines exactly what the township is expecting, and it outlines exactly what the rescue squad is looking to provide, then yes, it makes sense to have that contract in place. Barring that, everybody, you guys yourselves have said that your rescue squad is doing a great job.
They're doing a fantastic job.
Right, so why are you looking to muck that up?
We're not. Services. You're trying to put words on our mouth.
No, actually, I don't see what you said. Regarding
Let's be
public
realistic.
safety-
Let's be, I'm gonna talk, okay?
Go right ahead.
Let's be realistic. You are a candidate for township committee, is that correct?
It's not relevant to this discussion.
I'm just gonna
Yes.
ask you some questions.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, I just want to clarify that.
Yes, I am, as I hear. In case anybody didn't know. Regarding the public safety director as well, it is not a secret that the two of you have made comments in one of the position for a while. June 9th, 2014, it's in the minutes, we both were talking about this position. September 28th, 2015, again, in fact, if the minutes are correct, you directed Mr. Lang to look into drafting ordinances to that effect. Surprise, surprise, suddenly this report says we should have that position. How do you expect anyone to believe this is a fair and unbiased report, given the back? Okay, no response. Finally, as I did ask at the last meeting where the money for the public safety director would come from. It was mentioned that perhaps $5,000 would go to it. I'm not sure that $5,000 is enough for that position. I'm just saying. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Chief George Jackson III. I have to say that because Junior's in the room. 66 Woodside Drive. I'd like to read a statement from the rescue squad that we prepared, reference to the subcommittee report. The Tabernacle Rescue Squad would like to take this opportunity to answer the Public Safety Committee report.
Is this the same statement you already gave me?
No. The letter?
Yeah.
No. After reading the subcommittee report, the members of the Tabernacle Rescue Squad feel this report does not reflect the true picture of emergency services in Tabernacle Township. We feel this report leaves out information provided by the officers of the organization and other organizations in this community. The report contains misleading information, not all the information and opinions of the author or authors, which is not based on facts but emotions or personalities. It paints our organization and leaders in a bad light, but does not identify any real issues with the Tabernacle Rescue Squad or its operation. The Tabernacle Rescue Squad in 2004 set out a plan to better the EMS and rescue services in Tabernacle Township, which was supported by the Township Committee at that point. In 2016, the Rescue Squad has met and exceeded all the goals that were set, and we're very proud of these accomplishments. We feel the subcommittee report and recommendations would greatly affect the successful operation and cause the rescue squad to go backwards, not forward. The other issue is the squad had enjoyed a great working relationship with the Township Committee. The rescue squad now feels that because we have not immediately met the demands of a few on committee, that it will hurt our organization, and we have become the target of these individuals. The squad officers have been painted as hiding things, lying to committee, and verbally berated for not meeting these unreasonable demands. We feel that this report has not been written objectively but subjectively with predetermined conclusion. We feel that there's important information that has been left out and proper information reported and identified problems not addressed. I will now provide problems with this report and our response to them. Page 1, paragraph 2, under purpose, revelation of a contract between the Tabernacle Rescue Squad and the Township of Chemung. Tabernacle Rescue Squad does not have a contract with Chemung. The agreement with Chemung was so that we could balance bill the residents, would not balance bill their residents when requested through a county mutual aid agreement. That mutual aid agreement is signed by the Township Committee. The agreement also states that when Chemung EMS became operational with their billing, that they would not balance bill our residents. They would, if they were requested for mutual aid. This was done so that if we needed Chemung to respond to our township, our residents would not be balanced billed as if we provided the service. There is no agreement or guarantee of service beyond the mutual aid agreement by the Tabernacle Rescue Squad for these responses. This agreement was signed with the understanding that Chemung was going to balance bill, which they have not done at this point. The agreement was also offered to Medford and Southampton, but they never returned it. Page 1, paragraph 3, participants. The subcommittee met with individuals and many concerned and with many concerned individuals and organizations. Met with various officers of the Tabernacle Rescue Squad and the Tabernacle Fire Company Number 1, Tabernacle Township staff members, residents of Tabernacle, surrounding communities, various local government officials from surrounding communities, former township committee members, Tabernacle Township administrator, and county, state, and federal government officials. Because of the Township's Committee's commitment to the issue, we also reviewed emergency management structures in other states. Who did the subcommittee meet with?
You say you're going to make comments regarding issues you have.
Well, I'm
You're asking a question.
asking a question. Who did the subcommittee meet with? The only people from the Tabernacle Rescue Squad the subcommittee met with was myself, Assistant Chief Keith Zane, President Jamie Wood, and Vice President Terry Zane. No members of the rescue squad were met with, including the dual members of both organizations. What Tabernacle staff members were met with? What residents were met with? What residents of surrounding communities were met with and why? What local government officials from surrounding communities were met with and why? What former Tabernacle Township committee members? What county, state, federal government officials? What emergency management structures did you review and from what states? The subcommittee reports that they spoke to all these people, but who was actually spoken to? Why are their names not listed in the report? And what were they asked and what did they say? What information was developed from these people that was used in the report? Which member of this subcommittee actually met with these people? During the meetings with the rescue squad, Mayor Lee met with the squad himself 3 times, Mayor Lee and Deputy Mayor Yates once, and Mayor Lee and Committeeman Franzen once. Throughout the 10-page report, the only people that are remotely quoted are myself and Chief Smith from the fire company. Page 2, paragraph 2. The building project was funded and continues to be supported by taxpayers at Tabernacle. The emergency service building was constructed after being voted on by residents of Tabernacle Township during the November 2010 election.
George, what page you on?
Page 2, paragraph 2. Emergency medical services. The head.
Second paragraph?
Yes.
Okay.
The residents supported this building being constructed and approved with the funding of the construction of a multi-purpose building during the general election. The squad initial intentions were to build the station on their own just for the rescue squad. We were approached by the then township committee to build a multi-purpose building which became a township project. We look forward to working with the township to do this. The squad paid for all the architectural plans for that building. It should be noted that the firehouse renovations were completed in the early 2000s. They were also approved by the voters during a fire commissioner's election. Why is the multi-purpose ESB being held against the squad and its costs? The residents of the community approved both building projects with volunteers. Although TRS has been serving the residents since 1950, only recently the TRS has been authorized provider of ambulance rescue service in the township pursuant to the ordinance. 2 ordinance. The Tabernacle Township was recognized under Ordinance 2011-3 as the ambulance and rescue service for Tabernacle Township. Prior to that, the rescue squad was recognized yearly as an ambulance and rescue service for the Tabernacle Township. It was changed from an ordinance so that a resolution didn't have to be passed every year. It was also created as an ordinance for licensing purposes for the Department of Health. I have a resolution that it looks like it's on parchment paper that Mayor McGinnis signed. That's the way it was always done. It helped us with the billing so that, or the licensing for the state, so that we didn't have to remember to come back here every year and get another resolution. So we've always been recognized as the ambulance and the rescue of the town for many, many years. In addition to the Township of Tabernacle, Township of Tabernacle economically supports the TRS for the residents that do not have health insurance or limited health insurance resources and therefore compensate the TRS for their service. In late 2012 and January 2013, the Tabernacle Rescue Squad brought its plan to the Township Committee to bill for service. One of the requests of the committee was the rescue squad would not balance bill the residents for its services. The insurance billing regulation is regulated by the federal government under the Department of Health and Human Services, Office of Inspector General, or the OIG. To ensure that program is set up between the township and the rescue squad was legal and met all requirements, the rescue squad had the program reviewed by the OIG and an opinion issued to protect both the rescue squad and the township. The opinion cost the township, the rescue squad, not the township, approximately $10,000. In October of 14, the OIG issued opinion 1409. The opinion is the following. In the opinion, the following statement was made by the OIG. Under the arrangement, the township effectively assumes all out-of-pocket amounts owed to the BLS supplier for residents. As we state in the OIG compliance program guidance for ambulance provider, a city or political subdivision of the state may not require a contracting ambulance supplier to waive co-payments for the residents, but may pay uncollected out-of-pocket co-payments on the behalf of its residents. Such payments will be made through lump sums with periodic payments reasonable or appropriate to the otherwise uncollected cost-sharing amounts. Page 2, paragraph 3. The Tabernacle Rescue Squad has been able to fund the reimbursement program by using some of the money collected by insurance companies and also being able to finance the purchase of an ambulance and other equipment, included but not limited to power stretchers for each ambulance. It's a true statement. The reimbursement program is completely funded by the monies collected by insurance companies. It's also funded the remount of 92 at a cost of $125,000, which was actually a cost savings because we didn't buy a new ambulance of approximately $60,000. All the vehicle maintenance, whether it belongs to the township or the squad, all our equipment maintenance, medical supplies, rescue equipment, medical equipment, new stretchers, and we continue to save for a new ambulance so that every 5 years we can replace an ambulance and have the money to do it, which is something that has been suggested by committee that we should save that money and pay for it as much as we can up front. It makes good sense to us, and that's what we've done for many, many years, as long as I can remember. Page 3, paragraph 1 under fire services. Firefighting services have experienced a substantial decrease in membership since the new emergency services building was completed, the Tabernacle Fire District was dissolved, and the Township Committee selected the TFC as a service provider of service. How did the emergency services building contribute to this decline in membership? The building opened in 2012 and the dissolution of the fire district occurred in December of 2014. And the TFC was appointed at that time. What was the decline in membership between the opening of the ESB and the changes made by the township? Do you have any numbers to back up that claim? Page 3, paragraph 2, under rescue service. The rescue truck, which was at the center of a lawsuit between the Medford Farms Volunteer Fire Company and TRS Tabernacle Township, is now housed in the emergency services building. The rescue truck was not the center of the lawsuit. It was two pieces of equipment, air packs and rescue trucks, that were actually the center of the lawsuit. The lawsuit proved the items were donated to the rescue truck and ultimately the township. The lawsuit was settled by the fire company and the township, and the fire company gave any claim up to the equipment. The rescue truck has been housed in the ESB since 2012. It was the first vehicle housed there. Page 4, paragraph 2, under fire services. Tabernacle Township is served by the same basic core of volunteers that work in the rescue squad. Other than stating some of the volunteers of the rescue squad are very dedicated residents of Tabernacle, what are you trying to say with the statement? The fire company volunteers in part believe their services are underutilized and the township assigns a greater responsibility and resources to the Tabernacle Rescue Squad. The fire company is charged with providing fire protection to the residents of Tabernacle, and that's a very important job. The rescue squad is charged with providing EMS and rescue services to the residents of the Tabernacle, which is an equally important job. The fire service has seen a decrease in call volume due to improvements in construction regulations, techniques, and materials. EMS over the past 2 decades has become busier in just about every community in the country. As our population grows older and larger, EMS has seen an increase. And I mean larger by number of people.
Not size.
Yes. Rescue services.
I knew what you meant.
Just making sure, I don't want to insult anybody. Rescue services have been performed by the rescue squad has also seen a decrease due to better and safer vehicles. Members for the fire company are not prevented from participating with the squad, and there are several dual members. The squad has also formed a special operations unit, which allow fire company members to participate in rescue and other functions of the rescue squad that do not involve EMS. Additionally, the squad allows the fire company members to participate in rescue in the township, providing they meet the training requirements which the squad has set for everyone to do rescue, squad and fire, both. My members meet the same standards as they do. There is no favoritism either way. As far as resources assigned to the fire company compared to the squad, we feel this statement's not true. Currently, the township owns 2 vehicles the squad operates, ambulance 4391 and rescue 4399. The township owns all the vehicles operated by the fire company, which were transferred from the fire commission. The township has not decreased the number of vehicles they operate, and there's a new $550,000 engine under construction. Both buildings are now owned by the township. The rescue squad shares its station with the Office of Emergency Management and the Pineland CERT. The fire company has the sole occupant of the firehouse, and both companies have a use occupant agreement for their respective stations. The township provides insurance fuel for both organizations. In 2015, the township provided the following direct funding to support these agencies. The rescue squad was $70,000. The fire company was $90,000. In addition to the above monies provided for the fire company, the township maintained their vehicles and equipment out of the municipal budget. The township also purchased equipment for the fire company in 2015 out of the municipal budget. The rescue squad incurred all those above expenses in their own budget. The township did not maintain any of their vehicles, equipment, or purchase equipment for the rescue squad in 2015. In 2016, these are the projected direct financial support to these agencies. The rescue squad is $35,000. Fire company, depending on the budget, $90,000 to $150,000. As of this writing, obviously we haven't settled the budget question. It is believed that the continued issues since the dissolution of the fire district have been in large cause in many of the issues that we are experiencing today. The TFC number 1 has continued to answer the call in spite of the internal issues they are experiencing. Although not thoroughly investigated, there is current infighting and conflicts regarding the overall leadership of the organization. There have been continued issues with the fire company since the dissolution of the fire district. This is due to no plan to operate the fire service in the township by the township committee. The fire company has been left with no direction on how to handle certain functions that need to be done as part of normal course. The township administrator has not been given direction from the committee on how to handle these issues with the fire company. The Tabernacle Rescue Squad has a defined relationship with the township committee and the township administrator. It has had a successful relationship that has benefited us and the township, or benefited the rescue squad and the township in the years past. During a meeting, subcommittee meeting involving myself, Chief Smith, President Zane, Vice President Zane, Mayor Lee, Committeeman Franz, and Chief Smith addressed the issue with the subcommittee. Chief Smith requested assistance from the township in carrying out maintenance of the station, vehicles, and equipment. Chief Smith stated that these functions were handled by the fire commissioners in the past and that he is now tasked with them. He stated that although he is handling the task currently, he felt that he would not be able to continue to handle them. He requested somebody from the township to assist them. Both Chief Jackson and President Zane stated the squad handles their own maintenance internally and does not need the assistance of the township. I suggested to Mayor Lee that they work with Chief Smith and consider a position within the township like a fire administrator that would assist the fire company in running the fire service in the township, or task the township administrator with assisting them. The responsibilities and expectations for running the service would have to be defined for the township administrator. Page 4, paragraph 3, ambulance service. With the consistent support of taxpayers of Tabernacle, the TRS has been recognized for their response leadership, innovation, and overall services throughout New Jersey. In 2015, they received recognition from the New Jersey First Aid Council for their accomplishments, which was clearly deserved. The Tabernacle Rescue Squad has received support from the residents of Tabernacle as outlined in a plan laid out by the Rescue Squad and the Township Committee in the past. The goal for the Rescue Squad is to become less financially dependent on the Township. After the first 3 years for the billing service, 2013, 14, and 15, the Rescue Squad requested a reduction in the Township's budget from $70,000 to $40,000, which we know that you changed to $35,000, which would cover the write-off amounts for residents as agreed upon the Township and the Rescue Squad and written in the OIG opinion. The award received by the Tabernacle Rescue Squad was for Outstanding EMS Agency, which was given by the New Jersey Department of Health, Office of Emergency Medical Services. There are over 400 volunteer EMS agencies that were eligible for this award. This paragraph does accurately describe the hard work and dedication of the volunteers and shows excellent service of the service provided to our residents. Page 5, paragraph 1. In Tabernacle, vehicle rescues are patient-based and provided by TRS, while other rescue services, with perhaps the exception of equine, are provided by the fire company. However, the TFC is the rescue provider through Mutual Aid in Woodland Township. What are the types of rescues provided by the fire company in Tabernacle?
George, if I could interrupt you for 1 minute, are you going to be, I mean, do you have like another novel you're going to read? I mean, I understand what you're trying to do here, but you stated in the beginning you were going to ask us questions.
Well, I asked a couple questions, stopped, and nobody answered.
Well, yeah, but you're reading a whole report, and in the report you're...
That's what he said he was going to do.
This is our response to your report.
Are we going to be much longer?
It'll be a little bit, yeah.
I'd like to hear what he has to say.
I think the comments, George has the floor at this point. There are any comments from the public at this time.
Keep going.
What type, here's a question, what types of rescues are provided by the fire company in Tabernacle? The Rescue Squad is a recognized rescue company in the township and has been for many years. All rescue functions fall, thank you, under the control of rescue squads per county policy and grids with the exception of fireground grid operations. The rescue squad also provides marine and off-road services. The other rescues, confined space, trench, high angle, etc., are provided through the Burlington County Office of Emergency Management through the Burlington County Technical Rescue Team. Same setup as the county hazmat team. The team is run by the Burlington County Office of Emergency Management, is made up of fire and EMS companies from Bordentown, Mount Laurel, Evesham, West Hampton, and members of the Tabernacle Fire Company and Tabernacle Rescue Squad. Equine rescue is done as a collaborative effort between the Tabernacle Rescue Squad, Tabernacle Fire Company, the Tabernacle OEM, and CERT. Tabernacle OEM provided training to all members of both companies, and both are trained in equine rescue. The rescue squad has the majority of the equipment, and both stations are dispatched to equine rescues in Tabernacle Township. TFC provides rescue in Woodland Township as indicated above. The Township Committee purchased Rescue 4399 in 2006, and the rescue squad equipped it. The rescue squad maintains a well-equipped, state-of-the-art rescue truck at no cost to the township. The fire company has now set up their own rescue to provide services in Woodland Township. There's been a lot written about the squad providing mutual aid to other communities and what's the cost to taxpayers. Why is the township allowing the fire company to maintain a second rescue for the purpose to provide rescue services in another community? Page 5, paragraph 2. In 2012, a lawsuit filed between the Medford Farms Volunteer Fire Company and TRS over certain equipment was used to build the truck for service. The equipment was donated to the truck, and ultimately the township was settled the lawsuit. The incident occurred in 2010 and ended in 2013. Why do we continue to bring this up? The rescue truck was purchased in 2006 for the rescue squad and has been in their control since the purchase. Page 5, paragraph 3. It is clear to the subcommittee that the TFC number 1 would like to be more involved in the delivery of rescue services and previously were the primary staffing agency for rescue truck number 99. as it was housed in the facility on Hawkins Road. The fire company believes the dedication of rescue services to the TRS has weakened to the volunteers associated with the fire service. Unfortunately, this conflict has been increasingly difficult for dual members and has been ongoing for some time. The fire company was never the primary staffing agency for the rescue truck. This claim was made in 2010 by then Chief John Wellen. Chief Jackson produced a report that claimed that not to be true. That claim not true. Out of the approximate 200 dispatches during that period of time, there were only one occasion where the rescue truck was occupied by just the fire company members, and it was in response to a fire. There were several occasions that the squad occupied the truck solely. The top responder for the rescue truck was myself, and I was on over 60% of the calls. What the report also showed is the task force at the time was working, and members of both organizations were operating on the truck. In 2012, as planned, the rescue truck was moved to the ESB. Actually, in 2010, the township and the rescue squad were told to remove the truck from the firehouse by the chairman of the fire commissioners, which was later retracted. Rescue services have been the responsibility of the Tabernacle Rescue Squad since the early 70s, when the rescue squad purchased its first set of quarter power tools. In 1983, the rescue squad purchased the first set of the Jaws of Life and continued to build the rescue program to what it is today. The rescue squad has been assigned the rescue duties and this is nothing new to the fire company. It has not affected the membership or weakened the company in the past. Before Rescue 4399 arrived, while it was housed in the firehouse temporarily, and after it left and moved to the emergency services building, the fire company membership changed with no impact from the rescue truck. As discussed earlier in the report, the construction of the emergency services building, the dissolution of the fire district, and the change of the fire company from the Medford Farms Fire Company to the Tabernacle Fire Company have been blamed. The rescue truck being here since 2006 and the ESB being here since 2012 never had an impact. The dissolution of the fire district, the change of the fire company, and internal issues and conflicts regarding their leadership have contributed to the weakness in the volunteers of the fire service. Page 5, paragraph 4.
George, can I interrupt you for 1 second? I think your comments are terrific, and I'm glad you've entered them into the record. One of the things that I had asked at the beginning of the meeting was, one of the visions that I had was to have the emergency squad leadership, the fire company leadership at a meeting 4 weeks from today to essentially discuss these issues you're bringing up, but also for the public to be able to ask the squad questions and the fire company questions. And in respect to the other folks that may have comments they would like to make, you've had a good amount of time to be able to bring your issues to the table. But what I'm asking is if we can, at this point, finish your report and then continue this in 4 weeks from today.
Well, I'd like to finish what I have here because I think it's relevant to the discussion.
I think it's relevant also, but I also need to be cognizant of the public that may want to ask you questions, and I don't want to prolong this into a 5-hour township.
You wrote the report and never gave the rescue squad, the fire company, as far as they know, emergency management, any opportunity to comment on the report until it was released. So this is kind of our comment because it wasn't like the report was generated and we met and said, hey, this is what it is, and if you let me get your input, you put a report out. So we're answering our report because we need to.
Well, to be clear, what I wanted to do is I would like to meet in 4 weeks with the fire company leadership as well as leadership to be able to discuss it.
Well, then at that point, I'm going to be taking comments from the members of the public. I would rather have the information that we feel is correct out there so that people that are sitting here have the education. They know what's going on.
But you're not willing to present this in 4 weeks?
If you want me to read it again, I'll read it again for you.
Well,
that's fine.
I'm not sure you understand my point. There's other folks that may want to comment this evening. You've been up here for a good 20 minutes and have made a lot of comments and good comments, but you will also have an opportunity to be able to make these same comments in 4 weeks at the same time and also take public comment. So I respectfully ask you to finish your report and continue it in 4 weeks.
Well, I'm almost there.
Mayor, if I may make a suggestion, what Chief Jackson is doing is actually reading your report and then he's responded to it. Rather than read the report, why don't you just ask him to identify the paragraph and give his response? And we'll save having to read this whole report into the record.
Well, I'm not reading the whole report, I'm only reading little captions out of it. You know, you have a whole paragraph, I took one sentence.
But here's my point, your comments are important, but there's also folks here that need an opportunity to speak. I did ask respectfully that we limit to 3 to 4 to 5 minutes, you've been up for 20. So with all due respect, I'd like to finish your report at this time, and we can enter it again in full.
Cork, it's fine, if he doesn't want you to read the rest of it. That's his decision as mayor, if he doesn't want you to finish.
I'm asking him the question.
Well, I'd like to finish it.
Okay, so how much longer will you be?
I won't be 20 minutes. I'm almost there. Couple more pages. Page 5, paragraph 4, the fire company members believe Tabernacle Rescue Squad has been too restrictive in allowing them to participate in Joint Task Force 439. Task Force 43, which is a dispatch protocol, has not changed since its creation in 2006. As far as the fire company members participating in rescue services in Tabernacle Township, the same rules apply since the beginning. You participate in the ongoing training, you may do rescue. This rule is the same for both members of the rescue squad and fire company. Although speculative on the subcommittee's part, this conflict is perhaps the result of the type of training required by Chief Jackson, who oversees number 99. The TRS is under the direction of Chief Jackson, trains his members in-house on the guidelines that are above and beyond what is required to be certified in other rescue companies outside of Tabernacle. Since 2006, the Tabernacle Rescue Squad has used the same system of training. This training requirement has been the same since 2006, when both the fire company and the rescue squad members all participated to become certified in doing rescue in Tabernacle. In years past, the fire company and the rescue squad trained together in this rescue training, which was agreed upon by the chiefs of both organizations, which promoted teamwork. This style of training promoted teamwork skills and working together to provide patient-based vehicle extrication. Only in the past few years has the fire company decided not to participate in this group training. The rescue squad provides all training free of charge to the members of the fire company, and Chief Smith is provided with a list of the dates each year. The training meets the standard of the NFPA 1006 and 1670, which the NFP regulations and guidelines on rescue training, which all rescue companies should be trained to. The training is done by an internationally known extrication instructor, which produces textbooks and other educational material and writes a column for a natural trade publication on rescue and vehicle extrication. Chief Smith has stated he wants to send his members elsewhere for training but still participate in rescue. I feel that this breaks up the teamwork practices, which ultimately affects patient care. The rescue squad also pays and provides for all the training free of charge to the fire company members. Chief Smith stated he wants to send his members to the Burlington County Emergency Services Training Center, ESTC. ESTC charges $225 per student for basic extrication class, which is ultimately paid for by the taxpayers. The student will train with other students they will likely never work with again. Chief Smith feels that his members should not have to participate in the ongoing training with the rescue squad, which again affects the teamwork approach. The fire company feels that they are required to do more when it's in fact they are required to do the same level of training as the members of the rescue squad. And since the beginning, all members have been held to the same standard. Chief Jackson does not, or I do not believe in just doing the minimum requirement, and neither should the committee or the residents of Tabernacle. Page 6, paragraph 1. There are a variety of operational issues that have developed between the organizations over many years that have resulted in the Township Committee making operational decisions which they are not only unqualified to make, but does not allow for the best mechanism for harmony between the two organizations. It has resulted in public political debate, which has led Township Committee to proceed to taking sides in continuing debates and raises service level questions in the community. What operational decisions have the Township Committee made? What sides have been taken? What service level question has been raised in the community? Why are you trying to say the rescue squad is not providing a proper level of service? Please give me an example of such statement because there is no indication of that anywhere in this report. Page 6, paragraph 2. The Tabernacle Rescue Squad income and expense are discussed and shown in a paragraph. Where is the financial information for the fire company? Wouldn't it be important to show what monies they have? Has the fire company provided you with a budget or an audit for the $90,000 they received from the township? The rescue squad has provided an audit every year to the township committee. Page 6, paragraph 3. Thus far, the billing revenue windfall has not been used to reduce or offset public support and monies contributed to the Tabernacle Rescue Squad by taxpayers. First and foremost, there is no windfall money, and that's just an inflammatory statement. When the Tabernacle Rescue Squad went billing for service, it met with the Township Committee and requested that the billing contribution stay the same, $70,000 for the first 3 years, 2013, 14, and 15, to ensure the billing income would be steady. In December of 15, the rescue squad appeared in front of the Township Committee and asked for a reduction of a budget line item which the Township Committee has reduced from 70 to 35, or 50% of its 2016 budget. This $35,000 represents the amount of the money required for the Township to pay to contribute to cover the write-off amounts. Also, the rescue squad paid for an ambulance and several large purchases without Township support. The public support being provided to the TRS includes direct financial support, payment of fuel insurance, and provision of rent-free space. The Tabernacle Rescue Squad receives direct financial support, although less than the fire company, fuel and insurance expense the same as the fire company. The rescue squad does not pay rent to the township on a monthly basis. In 2013, the rescue squad turned over the old rescue squad building, 81 Hawkins Road, now known as the Community Center, to the township for $1. The building was appraised by the township at that time at $389,000. This is an agreement with the township and again contribute. That's what the appraisal was by the township, not me. The township was appraised, the building was appraised by the township. The rescue squad pays $20,000 a year in expenses at the Emergency Services Board, or Emergency Services Building, including 100% of the electric, ground maintenance, cleaning, and other maintenance costs while sharing the building with OEM and CERT. Does the fire company pay rent? The fire company may possibly cover expenses at the firehouse just as the rescue squad does. However, the fire company is the sole occupant of their building and is allowed to rent that building and profit from those rentals. Many individuals interviewed during this response that the Tabernacle Township Committee must review the current public level of support and current financial needs of Tabernacle Rescue Squad. Again, who was interviewed, who felt this way, and why did they feel that way? The fire company believes that the reimbursement program has weakened the volunteers associated with the fire service and that the LoSAP program is not equal to the ability to support the efforts of its volunteers. What is the proof of this? And please give an example. The rescue squad was never allowed to participate in the LoSAP program that was administered by the fire district. The LoSAP program never affected volunteerism in the rescue squad. The squad developed the current program to reimburse its members for the costs of volunteering and providing such a great service to our residents. If the fire company is not satisfied with the LoSAP program, as you identified in this report, they need to open a dialogue with Township Committee and come up with their own program. It's not the fault of the squad or the reimbursement program that the volunteerism is down. Those reasons have already been identified. Page 7, paragraph 3.
George, I'm going to give you another 2 minutes, then I'm going to ask you to sit down.
As explained before, contract between Tabernacle Rescue Squad and Tabernacle and Chemung Township. As again, it was never, there's no contract. Okay, wait a minute. Okay. Page 7, paragraph 4. During the information gathering portion of the subcommittee, the Tabernacle Rescue Squad and the Tabernacle Volunteer Fire Company was asked to provide information concerning their plans for the future and to share long-range plans and goals they have developed. The Tabernacle Rescue Squad responded by indicating that they could not develop such a plan without direction from the Township Committee, as it was concerned with the Township Committee's future intentions for the emergency services. This is not what was exactly asked for in the email. The email dated 1/28/16 from Mayor Lee asked for the following response from both organizations. Please provide any information regarding your idea for the future structure of emergency services in the township in writing by Sunday, January 30th. If you have a 5 and 10-year long-range plan for your respective organizations, that would be helpful. Chief Jackson prepared a 4-page response to the subcommittee and responded by email on January 30th. To the question that was listed in the subcommittee report, here was my response. Also requested was the inclusion of a 5 and 10-year plan for our organization. The rescue squad has just completed a 10-year plan to improve our organization. The Tabernacle Rescue Squad is proud to report that we have met and exceeded our goals that we have set. The rescue squad will continue on its vehicle maintenance replacement plans as set out. The rescue squad also plans to increase revenue and become less dependent on the township for funding in the future. The squad is consistently training our members in the latest patient care and rescue techniques to provide the best level of service to our patients. Unfortunately, there are several reasons we cannot provide a written plan at this time. First, the rescue squad does not know its role within the township will be in the future. This makes it difficult to set any future plans. Second, there are several questions about the expansion of our organization that we need to discuss with the township to get an idea on what the township expects from us. Third, there are several regulations changes coming and lawsuits in the EMS community, versus Cooper, for example, that would deregulate advanced life support and could completely change the face of EMS, not just in Tabernacle, but the entire state of New Jersey. We cannot put together a 5 or 10-year plan in 3 days that we would feel comfortable with. When the squad plans its 10-year plan together, or plans its future, we meet with the executive committee and discuss all the ideas and spend time for formulating a plan. We take our time and are very diligent in outlining our plan for the future. Right now, it's impossible to make any plans with these discussions going on. The squad needs to meet with the township, explain future goals, and hear the expectation of the township for formulating a plan. How can you state the squad did not respond to you and only stated that we could not provide any plans? Nowhere in this report is the document that I provided in 2 days to the subcommittee mentioned. Although the fire company did not provide a formal plan, they indicated a new fire truck was set to be delivered in 2016 and they're actively recruiting members. How did the fire company provide the response? The rescue squad gave you more of a response than the fire company, however, it's not mentioned in this report.
George, I want to thank you very much for your comments. At this point, I'm going to ask you to sit down.
Damn, I only had a page left.
I think we've given you an awful lot of leeway at this point. How do you guys want to proceed? Do you want to take more comments in 4 weeks?
I have a couple of questions.
Huh?
With this topic? Okay.
Mayor Lee?
Question from the back. All right, we're going to go with this topic for about another 15 minutes, and then we are going to move on. But we will be able to talk about this in 4 weeks. Mrs. Brooks.
Thank you. I'll make this quick. Fran Brooks, Morse Meadow Road. Just a couple of quick questions. Is Mr. Jackson's report available to the public right now? I know he was reading it into the record, but is that report available?
I know, this is the first I've heard it, so I don't know. Mr. Jackson, you making this report available to the
Not
public?
right now.
I'm sorry?
Not right now.
When will it be available to the public?
I don't know.
Then I think it would be worthwhile for him to finish the report.
If you want everybody to know what you think,
because he's given 90% of it in a public context and in a public meeting.
Let's be very clear. I can't hear the speaker when there's talk in the back of the room. I don't need any help running the meeting. I appreciate your assistance, but Mrs. Brooks has the floor. She's the one that's talking. That's who we're listening to. Go ahead, Mrs. Brooks. I apologize for the interruption.
Not a problem. I would just suggest that you, in the interest of the fact that he's given, he said he had 2 pages left, in the interest, since he's given most of the report on the record, it would be advantageous to the public, since they're not making it available to the public, for him to finish it so you can invite him to come up and finish his report. So that's number 1. The second question, the second comment I'd like to make is that a couple of people have made comments about documents that you are relying on for this report available, asking questions whether they are available. I'm sorry, it's late for me. But anyway, the question is, I think you should consult your attorney about what constitutes a record that is deliberative or isn't deliberative. And this is you haven't made any decisions. This is a report that's, as noted earlier, is in draft form. So probably most of your information is of a deliberative manner, and you have no basis for, there's no under the law, there's no reason to provide it to the public. So that's just a point of clarification. And I would recommend that you consult Mr. Lang on whether the documents that you have that you relied on are deliberative or not. And that's about all I can say at this point.
Any other comments from the public at this time? Ralph? Actually, I'm the one that's running the meeting. Ralph? Okay.
Ralph Schramm, 12 Hidden Acres Drive. And frankly, I'll try not to be redundant because, boy, I had a lot of notes, but a lot of ground's been covered here. And I don't do social media. I don't do Facebook. I don't do Twitter. I don't do smartphones. When I came here before, when this first came up on November 14th, and the rescue squad was here, and they made a presentation, and a few of you folks actually seemed to resent it. And I wish you'd go back and listen to that tape, because that's what really got me riled up at that meeting. I thought they were giving a lot of good information. But one of the things that wasn't brought up too much tonight was mutual aid. And Mr. Barton, at that particular meeting, you said, and I'm really pretty much paraphrasing here, you believe we shouldn't be answering so many calls in neighboring towns. And you were referring to the Tabernacle Rescue Squad. But the fire company answers a lot of calls, and I've given you all those numbers, and they're pretty substantial. And this report doesn't really address that, and maybe it should. I also asked you if you had addressed anybody at county, state level. And first, Mr. Yates, you said no. Mayor Lee initially said no, and then you said yes, you had.
Excuse me, Ralph, let me just make a correction. I didn't say we shouldn't be making calls. I questioned when is mutual aid, and when is it assistance to another? When is it a shared service?
Your exact quote was, because I believe we shouldn't be answering so many calls in neighboring towns. And I'm just saying, if that's a concern of yours, it ought to be a concern of all. It is something that ought to be addressed in this report.
Well, I'll correct that, and my intention is, yes, mutual aid, but when is mutual aid, and when is it shared service? And I have the reports that you gave us from the fire company. I have the same concern there.
I've read this report, and I've got it all marked up, and obviously I'm not going to go through it and read all my markups and what have you. Other folks have said pretty much what I would say. I mean, it does say, it has a lot of good things to say about both squads, or both units, and the rescue squad, I mean, it couldn't be nicer. It says they do a great job. And then we get to the fire company, and it says that we have outstanding internal leadership problems and infight. And I also sense that they have a problem with LoSAP. I think if those are the two key problems, that's what needs to be addressed. I don't think you can fix this by, and I know you hate the word merger, but if you hire a public coordinator and put him over your 3 units, well, it's pretty close to calling it a merger. I mean, if it walks like a duck and it sounds like a duck, you got yourself a merger. I mean, that's the way I see it. And somebody said earlier, and they're absolutely right. I mean, when this was originally proposed, it was to save money. And it really, you know, if you got away from that, okay, I understand that. You dig into it, you find other things. But then we get back here, and Sammy noted this, and here you have, following is relevant income information from financial audits. You get their audits, we all have the same auditor. And the revenue has increased more than 180%. I want to know how that's important to the conclusions in this report. I mean, please tell me this isn't Social Security where I'm paying Social Security and the government's going to take it and use it for something else. I mean, do you have other plans for this money? Just say no and keep dealing with it. Did anybody say no? And also, is Chief Smith here? You know what? I'm going to tell you. I didn't start coming to these meetings until about 6 months ago. But I remember one of the first meetings after the fire commission went away. And that was a bold move. And Chief Smith was here. And the understanding at that time was that he would be at virtually each of these meetings and give you folks a report. But he's not here. And I mean, the rescue squad's making a presentation. I'd like to hear from him. You know, if he's got the problems that's in this report, maybe he ought to be here talking about it, or somebody from the fire company should. I mean, these are good people, you know, and if they've got internal problems, that's what needs to be solved. Also, I just want to ask one more question, and I'll sit down. I know it's getting late. I don't have my budget documents with me, and I understand the fire company would be bumped up from like $90,000 to $150,000. And then in the process, we would, Doug, tell me if I'm sorry, Mayor, that we would then eliminate the line items, right? Is that correct? Do I have separate line items?
They would be eliminated.
Okay. As I see it, the fire company winds up with about $60,000 less in appropriations, and that's the way I'm reading that right now. If I was in the fire company, I might be a little concerned about that. If I'm reading it wrong, tell me. Thank you very much.
Any other comments from the public at this time? Mr. Zane, you'll be the last person to speak on this issue.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for your patience. In this subcommittee report, it is mentioned that both the Office of Emergency Management and Tabernacle Rescue Squad are well-run, well-respected, and award-winning. There are no identified issues with the Office of Emergency Management. Colonel Lowe is mentioned as having the respect and admiration of many, and we are very fortunate to have an individual of his stature working on behalf of the township. It has been reported that the township has received in the area of $300,000 in FEMA reimbursement through Colonel Lowe's hard work in documenting emergency events in this township. In recommendation number 4 on page 7, it calls for combining the public safety coordinator and the emergency management coordinator into one position. Colonel Lowe would have to step down from his position with no guarantee of reappointment to the new position. Why would we change the highly regarded Office of Emergency Management and a competent leader to add another paid position within the township? We're already in a tough budget year, and why would we add another salary or an increased salary to the township payroll? The Tabernacle Rescue Squad has been recognized for their response, leadership, innovation, and overall services throughout New Jersey. In 2013, we received recognition from the Department of Health for their accomplishments, which was clearly deserved. The Rescue Squad has worked hard to increase membership, improve care, provide more efficient, cost-effective services to the community that it serves. The Rescue Squad, in January 30th, 2016 letter to the subcommittee, looks to increase revenue and in the future to work further to reduce the cost of taxpayers. The squad has already made great strides in doing this, but we have to work slowly and carefully. We need to ensure the funding is there to deliver the best possible service to our community. The Rescue Squad is not about the money, but about the people we serve. It's about the service to the people, and the members are very proud in everything we do. The subcommittee looks to possibly change the structure of the squad, or even go out to RFP to replace the squad with a professional paid EMS service. You have a rescue squad that serves well, providing excellent EMS and rescue services. Why would the committee want to change its very efficient system? The fire company in town is new and has gone through many changes that have greatly affected their agency. As identified in the subcommittee report, the dissolution of the fire district, change of the fire companies, internal issues and conflicts regarding leadership have contributed to the weakening of volunteerism in the fire service. Chief Smith requested assistance from the township in carrying out maintenance of the station, vehicles, and equipment. Chief Smith also stated that the functions were handled by the Fire Commission in the past, and he is now tasked with them. Chief Smith stated that although he was handling the task, apparently he felt that he would not be able to continue to handle them. He requested someone from the township to assist him. The above statements show that the fire company needs assistance from the township. give the fire company the assistance that is needed and leave the other two services in the community, Office of Emergency Management and the Tabernacle Rescue Squad, to operate as they are. The fire company needs to focus on its core responsibilities, providing fire service to residents of this community. If the members want to assist in providing rescue services, have them continue to operate under the task force program that has shown to be successful in the past. Thank you.
I want to thank everybody for their comments. At this time, we are going to move on with the agenda. Reports, Dan?
Sure, just an update, as I'm sure you're aware, we finished the park project, the dugout project, just in time for the snow on Saturday. And there's a bunch of stuff left, and as Doug said, we Jordan is part of that, bring that change order back to you, proceed with that. The township also received a park grant from the county for tennis courts at Brickettsville. We'll be working with Doug on that project.
That's a long time coming.
That's why.
Any else for Dan? Doug?
Well, as Dan took most of what I was going to say. I do want to talk about the dedication. We're scheduled to have dedication on Saturday of the snack stand, and we will be rescheduling that sometime in May, although I don't have a final date completely. We'll talk to the committee on when they do that.
I had a date too.
You have a date?
The discussion. Yeah, the cuts, obviously we canceled on Saturday, but Rodney's recommendation was to do it on Memorial Day after the parade, which they did a couple years ago. They did the flagpole dedication ceremony. Joe, I think, matter of fact, but his thought was to have it at the same time as the parade. I'll let him know. Sounds good. Anything else?
That's all I have to do.
Pete? Joe? Bart?
We're Wimbledon Way. We have an update. I see Mr. Woods here with us tonight. We're Wimbledon Way, where we are with.
Unless something has changed, and I'll ask Tom to update that if need be, but right now we are struggling with Wells Fargo Bank and finishing what they contracted to do. Because they don't do anything locally, you go through a number of subs till you get to the people that actually do the work. And that process we're working through right now. Is that a fair assessment, Tom, of where you're at?
That is a fair assessment. We've also sent notices to Iowa that have been returned to us.
But this has been going on since December, right? So we got January, February, March, now we're in April. We still have the foundation that's open. I mean, when do we direct Peter to take action against them? Or, tell them, look, you're out of time, we have an ordinance, and you're out of compliance with our ordinance, and start penalizing them for not taking action.
That was the intent of sending the letter to Iowa that got back to us.
Okay. So I'm going to direct Tom to talk to Peter and see where we are from here.
It seems like we have no choice. They're just stalling us. And, fortunately, we haven't had an accident at that site yet, but we've got a swimming pool, an in-ground pool, and we've got an open foundation that's in a residential neighborhood. It's got to be corrected.
They're either intentionally stalling us, or they are proving that larger is not necessarily worth fishing.
Use your hammer, Tom. The only other thing I had, I went to mail a letter today, and I had 49 cents on it. I don't know if you're aware, but it's 47 cents. So when you put your postage on your stamps, you no longer have to put 49 cents on it. You can put 47 cents on it. So they get an extra 2 cents. That'll be tomorrow, but that'll be the last.
Unless you have forever stamps.
That's my service.
And you lost 2 cents.
Yeah, that's right.
There's a lot of talking for 2 cents. Rick?
I'll pass.
Kim?
I just want to thank the committee for allowing me to call in.
How you feeling?
Oh, sure. And that's what's happening.
Pete might need to send you an invoice because you're on his telephone.
Of course, there.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks, Peter. Joe?
Actually, I have a question for Joe. I have a question that Chief Jackson brought up. Has the fire department reached out to you for that?
I've worked with Chief Smith since the beginning of the year on purchase orders and tried to accommodate him whenever I can. I have shown up at 2 o'clock in the morning to drive a fire truck for them when they needed assistance. And I've answered all, the public works has answered all the wire calls that they've had after they've been out there for a number of hours to get barricades.
He's never indicated that he needs assistance or help from the council.
No, not the way it's explained in the report.
That's what I'm asking.
Anything else? We are going to continue the discussion regarding emergency services in 4 weeks, and at our next meeting, we're going to talk about the budget, which is always exciting. But in 4 weeks, ideally, we are going to officially invite Chief Smith and the president of the fire company, and would also invite specifically Chief Jackson and President Wood to not only make any comments, but also take questions from the public. I think that's an important part of this, for the public to answer or to have questions that they potentially have, as well as Chief Smith. At this time, we're going to reopen the meeting for public comment. You will be limited to 3 minutes. I can guarantee you that because I have the clock running at this point. If you are interested in speaking this evening, please raise your hand. I will call on you. You come to the center of the room in front of the microphone and be heard at this time. No. Yes, I'm sorry. This is going to be on issues other than emergency services. Mrs. Brooks.
Thank you. Fran Brooks, Morris Meadow Road. I want to thank the committee, particularly Mr. Barton, for working on the moratorium, road moratorium matter, because that really did need to be addressed, and it's good that that's now moving along, and you'll be putting something in place regarding that. I'd also like to say that I find this is no comments on the emergency services. I'll just wait until before we that's all, because I do have additional comments, but I will wait.
I appreciate it, understand.
Yeah, thanks a lot, guys, for working on that moratorium.
Any other comments from the public? Chief Jackson.
George Jackson, Tabernacle Department, not Tabernacle Rescue Squad, just a regular citizen. 66 Woodside Drive. You made a comment earlier about opening the road on Medford Lakes Road, and I believe it was said you didn't open the road?
We did.
Where did we open the road?
We opened the road in front of Forest Lane.
Okay.
My last discussion with Mr. Barton, and I hadn't had time to talk to him, was earlier in the week they thought they could do it behind the curb line. But they found out that when they did that, they'd still have to go out and cut into the valve that was out in the street. So they chose to go back to the original because it was less intrusive, because it would be in the acceleration lane if they had put it behind the curb. So they went for the less intrusive.
And they did agree to use the infrared to close it
Yes.
right up. So
Yes,
they are going to use...
Well, okay. My question is, they opened the road at Woodside Drive. Medford Lakes and Woodside, they just cut the road last week, was it? Like last week. And now there's like a lump in the road when you turn the corner. And it's
Was it
in
cut by
new
South
asphalt.
Jersey Gas? Was it cut by South Jersey Gas or Verizon?
I think no, it's all marked out. It was South Jersey Gas, because I'm pretty sure it was Klein that was out there with them.
Look into it.
Yeah, because the patch, the main, and I'm no engineer in any stretch of the imagination, but there's a big lump in the center of the patch. So when you turn the corner, so, you know, in our newly paved, I was very excited that we got that road paved, and no lumps, and now there's a lump. So, if you guys can check into that, thank you. I know what that's the
You check and then I'll call.
Thank you.
Thank you, George. Any other comments from the public at this time? Seeing none, I'm sorry. Sorry, Megan.
It's okay. Causing trouble. Megan Jones, First Court. First of all, thank you, Mr. Barton, for asking about Wilmington. As you know, I grew up on that street, and my little one is starting to walk and run, and I would really like to have that hole filled in before he can escape me. Upcoming budget. My understanding is we're still looking at a couple layoffs. I would like to ask the committee to please make sure that with these reductions in forces, if we're going to go forward with them, that we know how those jobs are going to be covered. The last thing I want to have happen is that we have to outsource things, whether it be repairs, time, where it's actually going to cost us more money or equivalent amount of money to get repairs done, if we have to wait in line, lost time, things of that nature, because that's not a savings to the taxpayers, and that's not in our best interest. So in the next 2 weeks, if you haven't already done so, if we could really take a look, it's not just about the budget line, but where do those costs go? Because the last thing I would like to do is have us lay off someone and then have this cost equal or more to the taxpayers to do the same job. So, thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments from the public? Seeing none, we'll close the public. Need a motion to adjourn, please? Second? All in favor?
That's why I want to ask the question.
Oh, he's not just starting. He's this close to running.
Yeah, so he can skate down the street. So at this point, I would prefer him not.
Unfortunately, he gets to start by acorns. Okay. So he's probably
Potty trained to play on
I wish. I told her I wanted her coming out walking and talking. Didn't happen.
I failed.
He didn't fail. Now he's like,
What's happening? I'm just scared that I'm going to get up. Didn't need it. I know what I want yet. I'm going to ask. Having a baby is great.
What else is new?
So I don't have to give you a recap. I know.
Because I haven't taken it off the rest of it.
Contact the other